Chapter 376. The night was dark, and the town was extremely quiet. Only the occasional barking of a dog could be heard. Yunjioga and Zishang sneaked into Squire Lu's residence. She first scanned the entire mansion with her divine sense, but she did not find any monsters, nor did she see the two legendary children. Lu Yuanwei was sleeping soundly on the bed. Beside him, Lotus was in a daze, unable to fall asleep for a long time. At this moment, there was the sound of something falling to the ground and knocking on the window. Lotus was startled. She looked up and saw that something had been stuffed into the window. It was the red rope from earlier. She hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she put on her clothes and walked out. Sure enough, she saw the handsome young man her mother had entrusted to her standing under the tree waiting for her. "Why are you here again?" Lotus lowered her voice. "Auntie asked me to return this to you. She said that she wasn't able to prepare a dowry for you when you got married. She told you to keep it as your own money and think more about yourself. If you miss home, you can go back." Yunjioga took out the silver lotus hairpin. Lotus looked at the lotus hairpin in a daze. Tears flowed down her thin cheeks. She choked and said, "I thought mother only wanted money and didn't want me anymore. How could that be? Auntie cries at home every day. She is worried that something will happen to you here. She has always wanted to bring you home, but she has no choice. She has come a few times, but Lu Yuanwei has chased her away. Don't you know about this?" Yunjioga said half-truthfully. "Squire Lu said that my mother came to him a few times to ask for money. He also said that in my mother's heart, I'm just a money tree. Even if I leave this place, my mother will sell me somewhere else." Lotus sobbed. "Nonsense, Auntie was left with 5 taels of silver after treating the old man's illness. She wanted to use it to ransom you, but the robbers took it away. The old man is injured now, and she has to take care of the old man and worry about you. Her body is about to collapse," Yunjioga said vividly. "Boo-hoo, mother." Lotus covered her mouth and cried her heart out. Her shoulders kept twitching. "Auntie misses you very much. Why don't you come back with us?" If Lu Yuanwei was really a monster, he would definitely transform when he saw Lotus leave. "I can't go back." Unexpectedly, Lotus wiped away her tears and shook her head decisively. "Why? You don't want to see Auntie?" Yunjioga asked curiously. "No, it's my child who can't leave me," Lotus said with a troubled expression. "Child? When did you have a child? Didn't they say that Lotus had just married into the family not long ago?" "I have 2 children. They are well-behaved and adorable. I want to stay and take care of them," Lotus said with a motherly smile on her face. Yunjioga remembered that the townspeople had said that Lu Yuanwei had 2 children, but no outsider had ever seen them. Could it be these 2? "Let her take us to see the 2 children, Zishang whispered into Yunjioga's ear. Yunjioga nodded. Then, he gave Lotus a wolf-like smile and said, "Lotus, Auntie must be very happy to know that you have children. Can you take us to see them? That way, I can give Auntie an explanation when I return." Lotus hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded and said, "Okay, but my children are very shy and afraid of meeting strangers. Don't make any noise later, lest you scare them." "Okay, I promise I won't make a sound." Yunjioga nodded solemnly. Lotus took Yunjioga to a rock garden in a secluded courtyard and went underground through a dark tunnel. Yunjioga quietly followed the lotus to the ground and saw a black pool of water. "Children, mother is here." Lotus had a dreamy expression on her face as she squatted beside the pool and stirred the black water. The ripples spread out as if they had startled some kind of monster. The waves in the water were turbulent, and 2 waves rushed over one after another. Then, a big and a small black figure crawled out of the water. Their heads looked a bit like a human's face. They didn't have a nose and were covered in scales. They had blood-red eyes, sharp teeth, a lizard's body, and a long tail. As soon as the 2 monsters came ashore, they pounced at Lotus. They grabbed her arm and bit her, then began to suck her blood. Good child, eat slowly. Don't rush. Lotus had a kind smile on her thin face as she watched the two monsters suck her blood. She didn't care about the life force in her body draining away. Yunjioga frowned and couldn't help but shout, Lotus. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was very clear in the quiet and gloomy underground. Lotus was startled. She immediately regained her senses and looked down to see the two monsters sucking her blood. She immediately screamed and shook them off. When the two monsters realized that their food had woken up, they immediately opened their bloody mouths and pounced at Lotus. Yunjioga immediately took out his evil blade and turned into 5 bloody lights. The big monster was more cunning. It twisted its body and hid behind the small monster. The small monster didn't care and pounced forward. With a sweep of its tail, it knocked the first evil blade away. The second evil blade was knocked askew. The third evil blade cut through the small monster's scales. The fourth evil blade left a white mark on its body. The fifth one pierced its neck and pinned it to the ground. The small monster immediately let out a shrill scream. The 5 evil blades rushed forward and quickly sucked it dry. The big monster saw that the situation wasn't good. It swung its tail and wanted to escape back into the water. The excited evil blade pierced through the back of its head and turned around to cut the monster in half. Blood spurted out and was sucked clean by the evil saber. Who killed my child? The black water surged, and a furious roar of shock could be heard. Half of Lu Yuanwai's body came out of the water. Seeing the 2 dead monsters, his eyes turned red with hatred. His teeth opened wide as black scales grew from his face to his entire body. In an instant, he turned into a monster as big as the 2 small monsters and pounced at Yunjioga. Yunjioga formed a hand seal. The 5 evil blades turned into streaks of light and stabbed towards Lu Yuanwai. But the scales on his body bounced them off. Lu Yuanwai's thick black tail swept towards Yunjioga. The bat wings on Yunjioga's back flapped and he dodged to the side, forming another hand seal to control the evil blades to attack Lu Yuanwai. After a few moves, the water in the pond splashed and the passage collapsed. Lu Yuanwai relied on his tough scales to ignore the evil blade's attacks. Yunjioga relied on his wings to dodge his attacks. On the surface, they seemed to be evenly matched. But Lu Yuanwai was becoming more and more aggressive as he fought. Yunjioga was using up a lot of spirit energy. He was starting to feel a bit weak. Don't fight him head on, find his weakness. Zi Shang couldn't stand it anymore and reminded from the side. Yunjioga obviously knew to find his weakness. But even after using the evil blades to test every part of Lu Yuanwai's body, she couldn't find any weak points. If only she could open her spirit eye. Yunjioga was distracted and accidentally got hit by Lu Yuanwai's tail. She lost her balance and fell to the ground. Chapter 377. Lu Yuanwai's large tail came crashing down. Yunjioga quickly rolled away to avoid the attack, but when she got up, she found the corpse of a small monster hanging on her sleeve. Her eyes lit up. That's right, the back of his head. All 3 of them were of the same race, so their weaknesses were the same. Yunjioga once again flew up, forming a hand seal to control the evil blade to attack the back of Lu Yuanwai's head. Lu Yuanwai's tail was very agile, tightly protecting the weak spot behind his head. Yunjioga didn't hesitate to take the risk to attract Lu Yuanwai's attention, then commanded the main blade to hide next to Lu Yuanwai, and finally found an opening to stab the back of Lu Yuanwai's head. Lu Yuanwai roared, wanting to shake the evil blade out of his body, but that triggered the evil blade's absorption ability. The remaining 4 small blades took this chance to attack, striking the main blade one after another, instantly forming a long blood-red evil blade, cutting off Lu Yuanwai's head. Lu Yuanwai's body landed heavily on the ground, turning into a human-faced crocodile monster. The souls of 7 women flew out from his body, most likely the 7 wives killed by the monster. Just as Yunjioga was about to check the monster's body, a blue light flashed, and the soul of a beautiful woman floated out. This soul was glowing. It was a Foundation Establishment middle-stage cultivator. "Thank you for killing the monster and saving me," the female cultivator gratefully bowed to Yunjioga. "May I know your name, and how did you get swallowed by this monster?" Yunjioga felt like he could get some information from this female cultivator. "My name is Wen Hui. I'm one of the last batch of cultivators to enter the ruins," the female cultivator said something shocking. "Turns out this ruin only appears once every 8 years, and its location isn't fixed, but it always requires a large amount of cultivators' blood and souls to open, and only Foundation Establishment cultivators can enter the ruins. Every cultivator that enters the ruins will encounter an illusion. If you brutally kill someone in the illusion, a powerful monster will appear, and the more people you kill, the stronger the monster that appears." Wen Hui entered the ruins with a sword cultivator. That sword cultivator was impatient and straightforward. As soon as he saw the illusion, he killed everyone in an attempt to break it, but in the end, this powerful crocodile came. After the crocodile devoured the sword cultivator, it raped Wen Hui. After Wen Hui gave birth to 2 baby crocodiles, her soul was devoured by the big crocodiles, and her body was eaten by the baby crocodiles. "Once we kill the crocodile men, we'll be able to obtain the pass to the first stage of the ruins from their brains." Wen Hui guided Yunjioga to dig open the crocodile man's brain. In the end, they obtained a black inner core, which was also a pass. "Looks like helping the people in the illusion solve their problems is the correct way to clear this stage." Yunjioga held the pearl and looked at Zishang proudly. Who was the one who said she was bored? Zishang gave Yunjioga a good look. "Dao friend, I have another matter that I need your help with." Wen Hui looked at Yunjioga with a pleading look. "Fellow Daoist one, please speak," said Yunjioga. "Please help me send this cloud pattern gold thread embroidery needle back to the Wen family of Eastern Cloud Nation. As a reward, I will give you the Wen family's inherited talisman cultivation technique." Wen Hui reached out her hand and pulled out a white needle with golden edges from the back of the crocodile man's head. If she had not sacrificed herself to pin this cloud pattern gold thread embroidery needle into the back of the crocodile man's head, Yunjioga would have had to spend a lot of effort to kill it. "Sure." Yunjioga took the needle from Wen Hui's hand. This top-tier 4th-tier magic tool was a rare treasure, but it was not enough to make her forget her morals for the sake of profit. "Thank you." Wen Hui smiled. After shooting a ball of light at Yunjioga, her soul disappeared without a trace. Yunjioga's mind was filled with notes on talisman embroidery. Although it was not very advanced, the basic content was very detailed. It was most suitable for a novice like Yunjioga. "I will leave my clothes to you from now on." Zishang was very supportive of Yunjioga learning talisman embroidery. "No problem, leave it to me." Yunjioga suddenly felt like he was valued by Zishang. "Ah, monster. At this moment, Lotus, who was lying in the corner, opened her eyes and screamed in fear. Just now, Zishang had cast a protective barrier on her, so she was not affected by the battle. "It's okay, I've already killed the monster." Yunjioga explained what happened and even summoned the souls of the 7 women. When Lotus saw them, she immediately fainted. Yunjioga scratched her face awkwardly. It seemed like she had messed up. In the end, Zishang sealed Lotus's memory and sent her home with Yunjioga to reunite with her. Next, Yunjioga placed a batch of antidote pills at the source of the stream. The crocodile man had poisoned the water nearby. The humans who drank the water would be bewitched by him and willingly give their blood to him. If the poison was not removed, these people would become weaker and die soon. After Yunjioga settled everything and confirmed that the people of the town were fine, she prepared to leave. Unexpectedly, as soon as she left the town, the crocodile man's black inner core shot up into the sky. After a flash of light, the illusion of the town disappeared, and a huge maze appeared in front of her. Did the owner of the ruins create this illusion to find a kind person? Yunjioga was confused. To be honest, if she was not in this godforsaken place, she would not be in the mood to pay attention to this illusion. Good people don't live long. He probably wants to treat us differently. After all, people who use such a stupid method usually don't have high cultivation. Zishang's words were straight to the point. All right. Yunjioga had to admit it. The reason why she spent so much time on the illusion was because her cultivation was too low. She could not be impulsive and could only choose the safe method. The two of them walked forward for an hour and finally reached the entrance of the maze. The entrance of the maze was 3 feet high and the roof was a huge, handsome devil statue. This devil had curved horns like a sheep and black hair that was curled like seaweed. Its long and narrow eyes were pitch black. Its sexy lips were tightly pursed and its expression was very cold. A pair of hands covered in black scales wrapped around the entrance as if welcoming Yunjioga into its embrace. Yunjioga inexplicably felt that this devil statue was a little familiar, as if she had seen it somewhere before. She could not help but look at it carefully. Is it nice? Zishang's voice sounded in Yunjioga's ears, startling her. Isn't it just a stone statue? What's so nice about it? Yunjioga rolled her eyes at Zishang inexplicably. He made it sound like she was infatuated. Use your divine sense to scan the surroundings and see if there is anything going on. Zishang saw that Yunjioga really did not care about the stone statue and quickly returned to normal. Oh. Yunjioga obediently released her divine sense to scan the surroundings. After confirming that there was no danger, she carefully walked into the entrance. Zishang walked behind her and was about to enter the entrance when he suddenly looked up. He saw the eyes of the devil statue flickering with red light. Its sexy lips curled up into a demonic smile. Its eyes looked greedily and longingly at Yunjioga's back. Zishang's eyes flashed with a dangerous light. With a flick of his finger, 2 purple lights shot through the devil statue's eyes. The devil statue immediately dimmed. Its mouth was tightly pursed and it returned to its cold appearance. Chapter 378. Zishang, come here quickly. Yunjioga stood nearby and beckoned, completely unaware of the abnormality of the devil's stone statue. Zishang glanced at the devil's stone statue one last time before returning to Yunjioga's side in a flash. What were you looking at just now? Yunjioga asked curiously. I was thinking about how to get out of this maze. Zishang said without changing his expression, not mentioning the abnormality of the devil's stone statue. Then have you found a way? Yunjioga's attention was immediately diverted. There are no clues at the moment. Zishang shook his head, his expression unusually grim. Is this maze very dangerous? Yunjioga suddenly felt a little nervous. No matter how she looked at the blood-red walls, she felt uncomfortable, as if someone was spying on her. She tried to send out her divine sense to probe but was repelled by the walls. She couldn't fly up, couldn't move on the ground, and couldn't use the teleportation talisman. She could only rely on her 2 legs to move forward. This maze also has hallucinatory elements. You have to be careful, follow behind me. Zishang turned and walked in front. Yunjioga followed behind and silently looked at Zishang's broad back. She suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but she always felt that Zishang was a little cold towards her. He didn't tease her anymore, and he didn't use the opportunity to ask for kisses and caresses like before when he was in danger. At first, Yunjioga felt that Zishang was quite good like this, but now she suddenly felt that he lacked that kind of intimacy and was no different from an ordinary friend. Most importantly, they hadn't dual cultivated for a long time. Although her dantian was stable and didn't need to dual cultivate to replenish her spiritual energy, Zishang's honesty still made her very uncomfortable. Did she lose her charm or was she too ugly now? Yunjioga couldn't help but touch her face and quickly began to despise herself. In the past, she couldn't wait for Zishang to stay away from her, but now she had a thirsty look on her face. Wasn't she being cheap? Zishang didn't notice Yunjioga's internal struggle. He kept a calm face as he guided Yunjioga to the right path. They walked like this for more than 2 hours, passing through countless crossroads, but still didn't see any clues to pass. Zishang had been silent the entire time. He seemed to be deep in thought, but at the same time, he seemed to be in a daze. He often took a long time to react to Yunjioga's questions, or he didn't even hear them. After Yunjioga cultivated the 10,000 beast spell, her body was very strong, so walking was nothing to her. However, Zishang's silence made her feel very uncomfortable. When she tried to chat but failed again, she was a little angry. If you ignore me, I'll ignore you. Let's see who surrenders first. Just like that, the two of them walked silently for another hour. Zishang did not feel anything, but Yunjioga was extremely depressed. Just as she was about to explode from holding it in, she suddenly heard the sounds of intense fighting in the distance, as well as the cries of a child. It's Lu Mei's tyrant flower. Yunjioga's spirits immediately rose. This way. Zishang pointed in the opposite direction. They must be in danger. I am going to save them. Yunjioga angrily walked toward the source of the sound. We have to go this way to save them. The further we go, Zishang held on to Yunjioga and explained patiently. All right. Yunjioga looked at Zishang's sincere face, and finally decided to follow him into the opposite tunnel. After turning 2 corners, the sounds of fighting that were far away just now were now right in front of them. Yunjioga tiptoed over and peeked his head out to take a look. She saw the Lu sisters, one controlling the tyrant flower, and the other activating the abyssal Daoist body. They were fighting with 2 middle-stage Foundation Establishment Realm evil cultivators who looked rather disheveled. Of the 2 evil cultivators, one was a short and fat old man with messy white hair. He held a dark green bamboo stick in his hand. There were 3 dark green leaves on the stick, and the veins in the leaves looked like there was blood flowing inside. Every time he waved the stick, a sky full of poisonous thorns would fly out and trap Lu Mei. The other evil cultivator was an elegant middle-aged scholar wearing a brown scholar's robe. He held a black ruler in his hand, and there were many green-faced evil spirits engraved on it. At that moment, the ruler's light was dim, and a lot of evil spirits were used up, so its power was greatly reduced. The Lu sisters seemed to be in high spirits, and they were unharmed. That was why they could fight with the 2 evil cultivators for so long. However, their cultivation was too low, and if they dragged on, they would definitely lose. Little lowly slaves, don't think that you can escape by removing the imprint. If you come back to me obediently, I promise to spare your lives. The middle-aged scholar commanded the green-faced evil spirit to attack Lu Tian while threatening her with a gentle tone. Unfortunately, Lu Tian completely ignored him. Her black hair fluttered, her eyes were bloodshot, her teeth were sharp, and her nails were long. She had completely entered the living corpse state, and her attacks were incomparably fierce. She wanted to capture her enemy. Lu Mei was also focused on commanding the tyrant flower to break through the poisonous thorns. She wanted to kill the fat old man to help her sister. Brother Strange, are you sure these 2 girls are your escaped slaves? The fat old man asked. I would recognize them even if they turned into ashes. The middle-aged scholar looked at the Lu sisters with greedy eyes. If he had known that these 2 playthings could grow into what they were today, he would have cast a soul curse to not give them a chance to escape. These 2 girls are not bad. I'll give you a rank 4-3 nether bone transformation vine. How about it? The fat old man showed a greedy expression, and he was very satisfied with the Lu sisters. Only one, but let's take them down first. When the middle-aged scholar was breaking through the illusion, he was entangled by a 3-headed rhinoceros. After defeating the monster and clearing the stage, his power was greatly reduced. Otherwise, he would have been able to take down Lu Tian. Okay. When the fat old man heard that the middle-aged scholar was willing to part with his treasures, he immediately became proactive. His injuries were better than the middle-aged scholar's, but he didn't use his full strength just now. He reached out and plucked the 3 dark green leaves from the bamboo cane and threw them into the air. The 3 leaves immediately turned into a big red and green net that flew towards Lu Mei-er. Lu Mei-er realized that the old man had used his ultimate move, so she bit the tip of her tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood at the tyrant flower. The tyrant flower waved its small hands, and the red demon eye on its face immediately shot out a red light to block the big net. Not bad, not bad. The more the old man looked at Lu Mei-er, the more he felt that Lu Mei-er was not bad. She could block his 1,000 silk green net at only Chi Disciple level 6, her future was limitless. But she was still a bit tender, and still needed to be trained. The fat old man waved his bamboo cane again, and the 1,000 silk green net shone brightly, pressing down heavily on her. Lu Mei-er's face was pale, and she felt like there was a huge mountain pressing down on her head, and she was about to explode. At this time, the middle-aged scholar's face changed, and he turned his head to the left and shouted, "Who's there?" Chapter 379. Before the middle-aged scholar finished his sentence, several green-faced evil spirits flew towards the corner. The bamboo stick in the chubby old man's hand also shot out a leaf-shaped green light and flew together with the green-faced evil spirit. With 2 bangs, the green-faced evil spirit and Yiguang were smashed into pieces at the same time. Then, a Chi Disciple level 7 youth in white clothes walked out of the passage and looked at them expressionlessly. It was Yunjioga who was caught peeping. "Senior brother." Lu Mei-er saw Yunjioga and immediately called out excitedly, "Senior brother?" The middle-aged scholar frowned. It was already difficult for him, a foundation establishment middle stage, to come to this maze, but this Chi Disciple youth seemed to be able to do it easily. There must be something extraordinary about him. Thinking about it again, the Lu sisters looked at this youth as if they saw their savior, which meant they really believed in this youth's ability. The middle-aged scholar's heart suddenly thumped when he thought of this. The sudden sense of danger made him turn around without hesitation and escape in a flash of light. The chubby old man was stunned. He knew this cunning old monster very well. He must have discovered the terror of this youth in front of him, that's why he ran away in a hurry. The chubby old man immediately put away the net and wanted to escape, but it was too late. A palm with a faint gray aura pulled out his heart and squeezed it into meat paste. Zishang had been in a bad mood ever since he saw the devil stone statue. He needed to vent but couldn't let Yunjioga know. The chubby old man could only blame his bad luck for running into the muzzle of a gun. Zishang directly threw the meat paste on the tyrant flower's face, then threw the chubby old man's bamboo stick and storage bag to Yunjioga. The tyrant flower excitedly stuck out its long tongue and began to lick the meat paste on its face. Its small hands kept on catching the blood that dripped down its face. Yunjioga looked at it and immediately looked away after collecting the spoils of war. He went to ask Lu Mei-er about the situation after entering the secret realm. Lu Mei-er helped her sister get rid of the cold ghost energy while talking about what happened after they entered the ruins. The illusion they encountered was a brothel. There was a girl called Mei Xiang who was almost beaten to death because she didn't want to receive customers. Mei Xiang was originally the only daughter of the town's teacher and grew up pampered. Unexpectedly, after her parents died, her aunt sold her to a gambler for only 5 taels of silver. The gamblers beat and scolded her. Not only did they sell their only son to someone else, but they also sold her to a brothel to pay off their debts. The Lu sisters had destroyed the brothel. Not only had they rescued Mei Xiang, but they had also made appropriate arrangements for the other weak women in the brothel. Then, they went to find the gambler's husband, killed the monster on him, and got the pass. Then, they helped Mei Xiang find her sold son. After that, he helped Mei Xiang settle down in her new home, taught her how to make tofu to earn money, and even helped her pay for her son's schooling. In the end, she found out that the honest peddler next door liked Mei Xiang and even arranged a marriage between them. The Lu sisters stayed with Mei Xiang and helped her solve many problems. They didn't leave the dreamland until she had many children and grandchildren and died of old age. The pass would send them straight into the maze. Admirable. Yunjioga gave the Lu sisters a thumbs up. To be able to accompany Mei Xiang for the rest of her life, what kind of patience was required? Senior brother Yunjiu, please don't laugh at us. Lu Mei smiled bitterly. The two sisters sympathized with Mei Xiang and hoped that she could be happy. By the way, was that middle-aged scholar the evil old monster? Yunjioga asked again. That's right. Lu Mei nodded seriously. Not long after they entered the maze, they located the old monster's position. In order to avoid him, they purposely chose the opposite direction, but they didn't expect to bump into him. We only met him once on the way to Zhongzhou. We only got rid of him thanks to senior brother Wanli. Lu Tian had already used her ghost energy to return to her human form. She gritted her teeth and her face twisted when she talked about her enemy. Don't worry, you will definitely have the chance to take revenge. That old monster had used up a lot of energy on his way here. Even without Zishang's help, he should be able to kill him. Yes. The Lu sisters nodded. As long as they could kill the old monster, it was worth it even if they got nothing in the ruins. At this moment, Zishang suddenly said, I know how to get out of this maze. Really? Yunjioga hurriedly turned his head. However, Zishang flicked his finger, and the overlord flower that was chewing on the fat old man's corpse sensibly took its food away. On the ground where the fat old man was lying, a red circular token appeared out of nowhere. Kill people and take their lives. This is the condition to pass. Zishang took the red circular token into his hand and tossed it to Yunjioga. Yunjioga carefully examined the token. The surface of the token was extremely smooth. The fat old man's soul was struggling desperately inside. As long as you feed this token to the wall, you will be able to leave the maze. Zishang gestured for Yunjioga to try. Yunjioga held the token and carefully touched the wall. The blood-colored wall squirmed, and countless bloody mouths appeared, squeezing toward Yunjioga with all their might. Yunjioga hurriedly retreated. After taking 3 steps, the bloody mouths disappeared and the wall returned to its original state. Could this be another trap? For example, the more people we kill, the more terrifying the wall will become? The Lu sisters asked anxiously. Probably not. Yunjioga believed in Zishang's judgment. But the Lu sisters were still a little hesitant. As an evil cultivator, if you can't do as you please, what's the point of cultivating? Zishang's cold and emotionless words enlightened the Lu sisters. They had discussed and obtained the pass to enter the illusion realm, preserving their complete strength and gaining a great advantage in the maze. However, if they still wanted to use tricks like the previous illusion realm, they would instead fall into the trap of their inner demons. Cultivation was originally like rowing a boat against the current. Only by eliminating all obstacles would one be able to move forward. Seeing that the Lu sisters had thought it through, Zishang turned and left. Senior martial brother, is Senior Zombie unhappy? Lu Tian'er quietly came over and asked. Senior Zombie looked especially fierce today, making it hard for people to get close to him. Who knows what's wrong with him now? Yunjioga also didn't understand what Zishang was thinking. Lu Tian'er and her sister looked at each other and didn't dare to ask anymore. The more time they spent with Yunjioga, the more they felt that this 1,000-year-old senior zombie was very strange. Not only could he talk, scold, and lose his temper, but he also knew many other things. If it wasn't for the death aura on his body, the two sisters definitely wouldn't believe that he was a zombie. It was unknown whether it was because the maze was too big or because there were too few people, but Yunjioga and the others didn't see a single person after walking for 4 hours. Let's rest for a while. Yunjioga saw the Lu sisters' forehead sweating, so he suggested resting. Okay. The Lu sisters' cultivation was lower than Yunjioga's, and they didn't specialize in body tempering. After walking for so long, they were indeed tired, so they sat down and drank some water to adjust their breathing. Yunjioga drank some water and found that Zishang was in a daze again. He felt inexplicably angry. At this time, the overlord flower on Lu Mei's shoulder suddenly jumped to the ground. Its demonic eyes flickered with a red light, and it danced with joy as if it had found something good. Chapter 380. The tyrant flower smells blood. Lu Mei immediately stood up. After passing through the ravine with the tyrant flower, she pointed to the left passage and said, "It's in that direction. Let's go and take a look." Lu Tian'er's spirit was lifted. After walking for so long, she finally found a pass. "Let's go." Yunjioge also wanted to leave this damned place as soon as possible. Ever since Zishang had entered this labyrinth, he had been acting strangely. He was so cold that she almost couldn't recognize him anymore. Zishang's handsome face did not have any expression as he instantly entered the Yin corpse state, following behind Yunjioge with a dark expression. Yunjioge and the others passed through 2 passages, and the smell of blood became stronger. Not far away, a black-robed male cultivator lay on the ground, covered in blood. His life aura was extremely weak, no different from a corpse. Yunjioge signaled to Lu Mei with his eyes. The Lu sisters were also overjoyed in their hearts. This was simply a good thing, like a pie falling from the sky. However, for the sake of caution, the Lu sisters did not rashly go up. Instead, they commanded the overlord flower to quietly walk over. Drooling, the tyrant flower floated over with its 2 feet off the ground. It was about to drag the fresh food to a corner and eat it. A small black sword suddenly burst out from the male cultivator's body. It abruptly pierced through the overlord flower's body, then continued to shoot towards Yunjioge with a black shadow. Yunjioge immediately summoned the evil saber. 5 rays of red light interweaved to form a defensive net, finally blocking the black saber. Lu Mei felt extremely distressed as she recalled the overlord flower. There was a large hole in the tyrant flower's stomach, and the blood essence it had obtained from devouring the fat old man was slowly floating out. Fortunately, its brain was fine. Seeing that Yunjioge could handle it, Lu Mei concentrated on infusing her spiritual energy to repair the overlord flower's belly. Yunjioge's evil blade and the small black sword were locked in battle. Zishang didn't make a move. Instead, he looked at the black-robed male cultivator thoughtfully. He then extended a finger and pointed forward, sending a wisp of death chi toward the black-robed corpse. The small black sword instantly flew back to protect its master. After splitting apart the death chi, the slender figure of a woman in white emerged from the tip of the sword. She hugged the male cultivator and turned around to run away. What was that just now? For some reason, Yunjioge felt that the woman in white was very dangerous. "That's the sword spirit," Zishang said before turning invisible again. Yunjioge didn't notice that Zishang was turning invisible again. She was just shocked to think that the legendary sword spirit looked like this. It was a pity that she did not see what she looked like. That's not right. Why does that small black sword feel so familiar? It's like I've seen it somewhere before. Just as Yunjioge was trying to recall where he had seen the small black sword, he saw the small black sword carrying the male cultivator back at an even faster speed. Behind it came the sound of chaotic footsteps and excited shouts. Here, here. Yunjioge looked from afar and saw the middle-aged swordsman who had teased her to cooperate with him rushing over with 3 Central Plains cultivators. When the middle-aged swordsman saw Yunjioge and the others, he immediately stopped and said with a sinister smile, "I didn't expect you fellows to be able to avoid the blood spirit array. I didn't think that you fellows would come here to deliver passage tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just enough." Yunjioge did not have a favorable impression of these cultivators from the Central Plains who deceived ordinary cultivators. If they ran into each other, they would just kill them. After all, Zishang was here. Ha, 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 3 Qi condensation realm cultivators dared to threaten us. The middle-aged cultivator roared with laughter. He pointed at the male cultivator lying in the corner that the small black sword had placed. "Your backer has already been killed by us. What other skills do you have?" backer? Yunjioga was stunned, but she quickly thought of a possibility. Could that male corpse be Wanli Mingxian? That's right, she remembered. When the Yin corpse puppet ran out of control and met Wanli Mingxian, it was that small black sword that flew out to block their sneak attack. It really is senior brother Wanli, he's not dead yet. The Lu sisters finally recognized him. They couldn't be blamed for being blind. At that time, Wanli Mingxian was lying on the ground with his face covered in blood, so it was hard for them to recognize him. This brat's heart has already been injured by us, he's not far from death. As long as you give me his sword, not only will I let you live, I'll even give you 3 passage tokens. In order to prove his words, the middle-aged swordsman took out 3 round red tokens. Each token had a sealed divine soul. I want them. Yunjioga stared at the tokens. If there were 3 of them, it would be enough for Wanli Mingxian. If you want them, then give them to me. The middle-aged cultivator revealed a proud and contemptuous smile. The Central State cultivators had studied the ruins for 3 years, so they had made ample preparations before coming in. No matter what checkpoint they met, they would be able to smoothly gather together, so collecting the tokens was very smooth. Until they met Wanli Mingxian. Although he was only at the early Foundation establishment realm, his methods were not ordinary and he had even refined a sword spirit. They had lost 3 middle Foundation establishment realm cultivators to heavily injure him, but they never thought that he would be saved by the sword spirit at the critical moment. This sword spirit was a bit strange, so he did not dare try it. So he took out the passage tokens to tempt Yunjioga, wanting to use them to obtain the sword spirit. Alright, then you can take it. Yunjioga formed a seal and the evil blade instantly condensed into a blood-red long blade that slashed at the small cultivator on the left. The Lu sisters also targeted a tall, thin, and elegant Foundation establishment realm cultivator. They controlled the Overlord flower and pounced forward. The middle-aged cultivator never thought that Yunjioga and the others would dare to attack. He was shocked and angry as he shouted, "You're courting death." He raised his blood-wind sword and was about to attack, but he discovered that a gray aura of death had appeared out of nowhere. It stuck to his blood-wind sword and stabbed into the chest of his comrade. His comrade subconsciously released his magic weapon to block it, but it was also guided by the aura of death and stabbed into his opponent's chest. The middle-aged cultivator's eyes widened as he looked at his comrade. Even when he died, he did not understand what had happened. Zishang curled his finger and put away their magic weapons, storage bags, and passage tokens. Then, he watched Yunjioga and the others fight. Yunjioga fought very smoothly against the Foundation establishment realm cultivators who were a level higher than him. The evil blade appeared and disappeared like a ghost, and from time to time, he would use the devouring spirit bloodlust skill. On the other hand, the thin Foundation establishment realm cultivator was worried and anxious about his comrade's death, so he made many mistakes and was quickly suppressed by Yunjioga. The Lu sisters fought steadily. Lu Tianer did not even activate her 9 Hell Dao body. She only controlled the Overlord flower to attack with her sister. The Overlord flower had devoured the flesh and blood of a few Middle Foundation establishment realm cultivators during this period of time. It did not have time to properly absorb the energy stored in its body, so it was initially suppressed by the thin Foundation establishment realm cultivator. But as the fight progressed, the energy was mobilized by the 2 cores and flowed quickly in its body. Finally, it turned into a thick red light and formed the image of a tall ape behind it. Chapter 381. The Lu sisters also noticed the change in the Overlord flower's form. Overjoyed, they cooperated even more smoothly. Roar! The Overlord flower's demon eye discovered the opponent's weakness. It opened its mouth and spat out a red light as thick as an arm. It finally killed the opponent. At the same time, Yunjioga's evil sword cut off the opponent's head. Ever since Evil Sword killed the Lizardman family, it loved chopping off people's heads. Yunjioga could not stop it. Evil Sword sucked its prey dry in satisfaction. Then, it lazily flew back into Yunjioga's storage bag. The overlord flower also began to eat happily. Yunjioge turned to look at Wanli Mingxian. He wanted to help him check, but he was afraid that the sword spirit would go crazy. Although the sword spirit was invisible, the small black sword was still hovering above Wanli Mingxian in a defensive posture. What do we do? Yunjioge asked Zishang, who also liked to be invisible. This sword spirit is very conscious. If you show her kindness, she will know. Zishang was highly reliant on this sword spirit. Alright, I'll try. Yunjioge looked at the small black sword nervously and tried his best to show his good intentions. I'm Wanli Mingxuan's friend. He's severely injured right now. I have to examine him before I can treat his injuries. Can you let me go over? The small black sword did not budge. He's bleeding. He needs some medicine and stitches. Yunjioge took out the blood-staunching elixir and showed it to the small black sword. The small black sword actually flew over and circled around. It seemed to recognize the blood-staunching elixir. The tip of the sword moved up and down. Step by step, Yunjioge slowly walked toward Wanli Mingxian. The small black sword allowed Yunjioge to walk to Wanli Mingxuan's side. However, the tip of the sword was pointed at her. It looked like it would kill her if anything went wrong. Yunjioge heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she squatted down to check Wanli Mingxuan's body. She found that his body was covered in bloody holes. More than half of his blood had flowed out. Many of his wounds were covered in a cold aura. It was impressive that he could last until now. The cold aura was caused by the blood-sucking evil weapon. The evil weapon was of a very high grade. Normal pills could not remove it at all. However, Yunjioge had the white-boned monkey, which loved to eat Yin Qi. Senior Sword Spirit, I need to use the mystic Yin white-boned monkey to suck out the Yin spirit aura from Wanli Mingxuan's body. Otherwise, I won't be able to bandage his wounds. Yunjioge took out the white-boned monkey and waved it in front of the black sword. The small black sword shook up and down, nodding in agreement. Only then did Yunjioge wake up the skeleton monkey and let it work. The little skeleton monkey's soul flame glowed faintly, and its lower jaw cracked. It seemed to be very unhappy. It had also been locked up in a small dark room for a long time. There was no Yin Qi and no benefits. There was no way for it to work for free, unless it was given 2 bottles of Yin gathering pills. Yunjioge looked at the little skeleton monkey's 2 little white paws, and his veins twitched. In the end, he still gave in. Fine, fine, fine. I'll give it to you. She didn't have the time to bargain with the little monkey. After eating the gathering Yin pill, the skeleton monkey happily shook its big head and started to work. The Yin spirit qi on Wanli Mingxuan's body slowly disappeared under the white-boned monkey's absorption. Yunjioge took out the thunder fire needle and started to sew up the wounds on his body. Then, she transferred pure wood spiritual qi into his body. Wanli Mingxuan's pale face finally regained some color. After drinking another bottle of spirit recovery pills, he finally woke up. Wanli Mingxian blinked his eyes. He looked at Yunjioge and the Lu sisters behind her, as though he didn't know where he was. There's no need to blink. You're still alive. Yunjioge pointed at the sharp little black sword behind her and said to Wanli Mingxian, "Can you put it away first?" That killing intent pierced her back. "Sorry, it doesn't have any ill intentions towards you. It's just too worried about me." Wanli Mingxian hurriedly apologized. Then, he turned his head and called out to the little black sword, "Mother." The little black sword flew back to his body. "Mother." Yunjioge's mouth twitched, and she said, "This sword of yours has a very special name. That sword spirit is my mother." Wanli Mingxuan's face was still a little pale. Even sitting up from the ground was very difficult. Yunjioge raised her eyebrows. Although she was a little curious, she didn't continue to ask about Wanli Mingxuan's privacy. Instead, she asked, "How did you get in?" "I killed my way in." Wanli Mingxian laughed bitterly. They, the foreign Foundation establishment cultivators, had also been tricked into an array formation and had almost become sacrifices to open the door. Later, he suggested that everyone detonate their fire elemental Dharma artifacts at the same time. Only then did they break through the array formation and enter the ruins. Oh yes, I already know what the treasure of this mystic realm is. It's a demonic cauldron that can refine everything in the world. This was the information Wanli Mingxian had obtained from the soul of a middle ground cultivator. Demonic cauldron? Yunjioga immediately thought of the bronze cauldron that had sneaked away with Mischievous. Could the two be related? That demonic cauldron is in the inner hall. We can enter if we pass the ruins test. However, I heard that apart from a group of mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivators, there are also 2 golden core cultivators who suppressed their cultivation to enter, Wanli Mingxian said solemnly. 2 golden core cultivators? Yunjioga's heart couldn't help but tremble. Although Zishang's current cultivation level was similar to that of a golden core cultivator, he could protect her. It would be difficult for him to protect the Lu's sisters and the heavily injured Wanli Mingxian. The Lu's sisters' faces instantly turned pale. A golden core cultivator was like an insurmountable mountain to them. They couldn't even muster the courage to challenge it. Is it too late to leave the ruins now? Lu Mei asked nervously. Originally, she wanted to kill the evil old monster with her own hands. Now that she thought about it, it was better to stay alive first. If we want to leave the ruins, we can only go to the inner hall. Wanli Mingxian shook his head. His usually cheerful and handsome face was also filled with worry. He had originally thought that this was just a small ruins. With his strength and equipment, it would be a piece of cake for him to come in and fish out some treasures. He didn't expect the waters to be so deep. In the illusion, he had successfully defeated the monster. However, he didn't expect to encounter a group of middle ground cultivators not long after entering the maze. He was almost killed when they surrounded him. If he hadn't met Yunjioga and the others in time, he wouldn't have survived even with his mother's protection. Let's leave the maze first. It's best if we can reach the inner hall before those 2 golden core cultivators and find a way to leave the ruins. Yunjioga immediately made a decision. All right. The Lu's sisters nodded repeatedly. They weren't interested in any treasures at the moment. The Overlord Flower had eaten so many Foundation establishment cultivators with abundant spiritual energy in the middle ground. It was already a great deal. Wanli Mingxian didn't have any objections. He was seriously injured this time and had already lost the ability to fight for treasures. It would be good if he could leave alive. Chapter 382. Yunjioga distributed the passes to the Lu's sisters and Wanli Mingxian, then fed them to the mouths on the blood wall. The blood-red wall shook violently after eating the pass, and a red passageway appeared on the wall. Yunjioga and the others entered one by one and finally left the maze. In the depths of the labyrinth, an old lady with a dragon head cane, wearing a luxurious robe and an emerald green spirit stone forehead cloth, was wandering around the labyrinth with a pretty girl. The old lady's surname was Shi, and people in Zhongzhou called her Old Lady Shi. She was at the early stage of Gold Core, and her granddaughter, Yusha, was at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. Grandmother, we haven't seen Uncle Meng and the others after walking for so long. Could something have happened to them? Yusha's delicate and beautiful face was filled with worry. In order to enter the ruins, Grandma had taken a secret medicine that suppressed her cultivation. Now, she was only at the high level of the building Foundation realm. It was not safe for her to have no helpers by her side. Elder Meng is a steady man. He won't get into trouble so easily. Besides, old Demon Wan has also suppressed his cultivation like me. He won't dare to make a move recklessly. You don't have to worry too much. The old lady strolled along the passage with the help of her walking stick. She looked calm and steady. You're right, Grand Ancestor. Yusha's heart calmed down slightly. However, he suddenly realized that the blood wall was emitting waves of intense fluctuations. The old lady, who had been calm and composed a moment ago, could not help but frown. Someone has entered the inner hall through the maze. Could it be someone from old Devil Wan's side? Yu Sha quickly asked. It's possible. The old lady nodded. This time, it was mainly her and old Devil Wan's people who entered the ruins. Then, shouldn't we hurry up? Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if old Demon Wan gets there first, Yu Sha said anxiously. Silly girl, what's the rush? The old lady patted her granddaughter's hand affectionately and said in a teaching tone, so what if we let him enter the inner hall early? If that treasure was so easy to get, how could he have survived until today? We'd better find Elder Meng and the others according to the plan and enter the inner hall together. This is the safest way. The same question rang out from the other end of the maze. A tall man with red hair also suspected that old Madame Yu's men had entered the inner hall first. He maintained the thought of finding his subordinates first and continued to wander around the maze. The two gold core ancestors were not in a hurry to leave the maze, so Yunjioga and the others arrived at the inner hall safely. Under Zishang's guidance, they quickly found the teleportation array to leave the ruins. Because the Middle Continent cultivators hadn't caught up to them yet, Yunjioga and the others weren't in a hurry to leave. Instead, they wanted to get as much as they could before leaving. As he walked, he arrived at a large hall. In front of him was a red wilderness, and above his head was the vast night sky, filled with large patches of fiery clouds. Countless small stars were hidden within the fire cloud, emitting the unique glow of a top-grade magic artifact. However, the most eye-catching thing was the giant cauldron in the middle of the galaxy. It was pitch black and surrounded by fiery clouds. It occupied most of the sky. Without a doubt, it was the demonic cauldron. Is this the demonic tripod? The Lu sisters looked at the tripod in the sky excitedly. The ones beside the treasures were definitely not ordinary either. If he could pick one up, he would be rich. Moreover, they had already found the location of the transmission array, so if they grabbed a treasure and left, they wouldn't have to worry about being chased by those gold-core old monsters. Wanli Mingxian looked at the cauldron, drooling. He couldn't help but say, should we go up and take a look? Yeah, even if we can't get it, it's good to see the world. The Lu sisters stared unblinkingly at the sky. Their entire attention was deeply attracted. Yunjioga looked at Zishang. To be honest, she was a little tempted too. If you can fly up, you'll be lucky. Zishang didn't comment. He just looked like he was watching a good show. Whoever wants to go up can go up and see for themselves. I'll protect you from below. Yunjioga thought it was better not to take the risk. Let me try. Wanli Mingxian couldn't resist the temptation. He released his small black sword and wanted to fly up. Unexpectedly, after flying 2 meters, there was a huge suction from the ground. With a bang, he fell off the sword. The Lu sisters, who had wanted to try, turned green in the face. If he fell from the sky, he would be smashed into a meat patty. Forget it, seems like I'm not destined to get rich. Wanli Mingxian climbed up from the ground with difficulty. He was already injured. Even though the fall wasn't heavy, it was still very painful. It was also because of this pain that he woke up from his infatuation with the treasure. Senior brother Wanli is right. Let's hurry up and leave. Otherwise, we'll get greedy. The Lu sisters looked away from the light screen with difficulty. They regretted coming here. If they didn't see it, they wouldn't be hurt. If they left, it wouldn't be so painful. Then let's go. Yunjioga was very open-minded. If it was hers, it was hers. There was no point in stealing it. Because this small teleportation formation could only teleport one person at a time, the Lu sisters left first. Wanli Mingxian was next, and Yunjioga was last. After teleporting out, we'll leave the Central Plains as quickly as possible. We'll meet up when we return to the Een Sol mountain range. The 3 of them made an agreement before teleporting. Then, they placed the spirit stones on the table and started the teleportation formation. The Lu sisters and Wanli Mingxian left successfully. Yin Jioge was about to enter the teleportation formation when she was pulled back by Zishang. We haven't taken the treasure yet. Where do you want to go? Yin Jioge was a little stunned. Zishang had been indifferent to the treasures in the ruins. She had no chance. Those people are too burdensome. Yin Jioge was a loyal person. He would never abandon them. That was why he found this teleportation formation to send them away. Now that the burdensome were gone, it was time to go all out. What do you plan to do? Yin Jioge asked excitedly. Although she felt sorry for the Lu sisters and Wanli Mingxian, they were indeed a hindrance. Take the treasure and destroy the ruins. Zishang's gray eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness. The words that came out of his thin lips were cold. Yin Jioge shivered inexplicably. She looked at Zishang carefully and said, "Does the owner of the ruins have a grudge against you?" "How do you know?" Zishang narrowed his eyes. His expression was unfriendly. "I guessed. You look like you have a deep grudge. I can guess it even with my toes." Zishang looked Yin Jioge up and down, as if to confirm her words. "How did that guy offend you?" Yin Jioge couldn't help but gossip. "Because he's cheap." Zishang's expression turned even colder. "Cheap?" Yin Jioge's mouth twitched. That was a really thought-provoking word. "All right, cut the crap. Take the treasure. Since that guy created the ruins, he had to destroy it." All right. Yin Jioge expressed her agreement. Chapter 383. Since they were going to take the treasure, they naturally had to hide their identities. It would be troublesome if they were discovered. Therefore, Yin Jioge disguised herself as the towering man Zishang had killed. If they were discovered, it would cause a civil war in the Central Plains. Zishang seemed to have gotten some inspiration. Purple light flashed and he turned into a middle-aged scholar. He held a ruler filled with evil spirits. It was the Lu sisters' enemy, the wicked old monster. Good move. Yin Jioge gave a thumbs up. Even if the wicked old monster could leave the ruins alive, he would definitely be hunted to the ends of the earth. Let's go. Zishang saw that Yin Jioge couldn't forget about the wicked old monster. He wanted to help her fulfill her wish. But for safety's sake, Zishang put on a black robe and stuck an advanced invisibility talisman on Yin Jioge. Then, he left the teleportation formation and returned to the Skyland. There were two groups of people standing in the center of the Skyland. Old Lady Shi was on the left, while Old Demon Wan was on the right. Old Demon Wan, we haven't taken the treasure yet. If we fight to the death now, won't it benefit others? Old Lady Shi's dragon head walking stick emitted a black mist that enveloped her people. What do you plan to do? Old Demon Wan's red hair danced in the air. He held two fiery rings in his hands, emitting waves of heat. Even his people didn't dare to get close. We'll take turns and take the demonic tripod first. Old Lady Shi already had a plan. It belongs to whoever gets it. Old Demon Wan squinted his slightly red eyes. Even if I tell you that, you won't believe me. Let's take the demonic tripod first. It belongs to whoever gets it. Old Lady Shi didn't want to play tricks. Old Demon Wan wouldn't believe her anyway. Okay, we'll see after the demonic tripod comes down. Old Demon Wan agreed. They were all familiar with each other. Even if they couldn't fight in the ruins, they could fight outside. It was better than fighting to the end and getting nothing. In that case, you guys go first. Old Lady Shi said and retreated 10 feet with her people, giving Old Demon Wan the wilderness. Old Devil Wan didn't stand on ceremony and immediately got his subordinates into a defensive formation. Then, he slapped his spirit beast bag and dozens of red shadows flew out, turning into various fire-type spirit beasts. There were 12 lizards in the outermost circle, 6 fire-striped snakes in the innermost circle, and a fire jade spider in the middle. It had a fiery red body, white slender legs, and demon patterns clearly visible. It was actually a 5th-rank demon beast, close to the gold core stage. Go! Old Devil Wan ordered. The flame jade spider opened its mouth and ate all the offerings around it. Then, it spat out countless rays of red and white light into the sky. When the light landed on the demonic tripod, it turned into a tough spider web and bound the tripod tightly. Pull! Old Devil Wan poured a bottle of fiery red pills into the fiery jade spider's mouth, and the fiery jade spider pulled the spider silk backwards. Waves of fluctuations came from the quiet sky. The fiery clouds were shattered, and countless black flames fell down. Protect! Old Devil Wan threw out a fiery ring. It turned into a red halo that protected everyone's heads, swallowing all the falling black flames. The fiery jade spider retreated step by step. The huge demonic tripod shook violently and left the sky bit by bit. Grandmother. Yusha grew nervous. Granny Sher's lips curled up and she said softly, "It's not that simple." As soon as she said that, the rain of fire grew heavier. The halo's capacity was limited, so Old Devil One had to throw another one up. The fiery jade spider's body was blood red. It became more and more difficult to move back, and the red and white spider silk tightened. Old Devil Wan was extremely nervous. He poured another bottle of pills into the fiery jade spider's mouth and forced it to continue retreating. The fiery jade spider retreated a few more steps with difficulty, but the red and white spider silk suddenly broke. The demonic tripod returned to the spear, shaking off countless red flames. The fiery jade spider wailed and lay on the ground motionlessly. It suffered a strong backlash, and its organs were injured. It died instantly. Old Devil Wan looked at the demonic tripod with a livid expression. He had used a secret technique to make this fiery jade spider grow, but he still couldn't get the demonic tripod down. What a pity. Just a little bit more. Granny Sher sighed and shook her head. She really hoped that Old Devil Wan could get the demonic tripod down. That way, she would have a better chance to snatch it. Old Devil Wan didn't say anything. He retreated to the side with his people and stared at Granny Sher. Granny Sher went up with her people and released 2 rainbow-colored silkworms. They were only level 4, but they were stronger than the fiery jade spider she had just matured. The rainbow-colored silkworms spat out 2 beams of rainbow light that wrapped around the demonic tripod. With one pull, the demonic tripod was pulled out of the sky. The sky shook, and countless rain of fire fell crazily. Granny Sher and the others couldn't resist in time. Many were burned by the fire. Old Devil Wan, if you keep watching like this, you can forget about getting the demonic tripod forever. Granny Sher pretended to take back the rainbow-colored silkworms. Old Devil Wan hesitated. In the end, he felt that the demonic tripod was more important. He ordered his people to help Granny Sher and the others resist the rain of fire. Zishang and Yunjioga waited quietly on the side, waiting for a chance to attack. Just then, a childish voice sounded beside Yunjioga. "Master, is that you? You finally found me." "Master?" Yunjioga had thought it was a treasure-seeking scorpion, but the voice was very clear and didn't sound like a treasure-seeking scorpion. Following that, her mind buzzed, and her divine sense was pulled into darkness. "Mistress." A chubby black-skinned mouse ran towards her from afar. "Pippi Mouse, where did you go?" Yunjioga was about to go up. Pippi Mouse started to transform as it ran. In the end, it turned into a chubby, soft, and cute 5-year-old baby. The baby was chubby and had soft black short hair. His skin was white and tender. He wore a fitted black suit and was very cute. However, there were 2 short horns on his head. Demon? Yunjioga was so scared that she wanted to turn and run. "Sob sob sob, master, don't abandon me. I'm not a demon." The baby rushed up and hugged Yunjioga's thigh tightly. I'm your artifact spirit. Since when did I have a demonic artifact spirit? Yunjioga said, but she still stopped running. When it came to treasures, she had always been very tolerant of them. Sob sob sob, I wasn't a demonic artifact. It's all that perverted Wan Sha's fault. He refined me into a demonic artifact. The baby continued to cry. Wait, who is Wan Sha? Yunjioga frowned. Where did this person come from? Wan Sha is a big bad guy. The little baby pouted his red lips and said fiercely, even if he used to be your lover, I still hate him. He dared to seal me in this damn place. It was not easy for me to run out with a bit of my divine sense and possess the black-skinned mouse to find you. Unfortunately, that black-skinned mouse was too weak and could not communicate with you. Wait, you said Wan Sha was my lover. Then who is Zishang? Yunjioga asked. Currently, Zishang was the only one she had an affair with. How did another Wan Sha appear? Lord Zishang is your guardian. In the words of the human race, he's your wife. Wan Sha is just your lover. The little guy's words were shocking. Yunjioga was shocked. Chapter 384. What wife? What lover? What nonsense are you talking about? How dare he slander her reputation? She would beat him to death. I'm not talking nonsense. It's true. Wan Sha, that pervert, couldn't find you, so he captured me and refined me into a demonic artifact. He even said that you would like me like this. Sob, he must be lying. I'm a medicine puppet that you personally made. How could you dislike the old me? The little baby started crying again. Yunjioga's head hurt from the baby's crying. Just as she was about to ask him more questions, her head buzzed and she regained consciousness. What's wrong? Zishang looked at Yunjioga worriedly. Nothing. Yunjioga couldn't tell Zishang that she'd met a child out of nowhere and said that the child was her wife and that she had a perverted lover. Zishang looked at her coolly and didn't continue asking. Instead, he pointed outside and said, they're about to succeed. There was a rain of fire outside and all kinds of spirit lights flashed. Madame Sher and old Demon Wan stood at one side and focused on driving the spirit beasts. At the crucial moment, old Demon Wan had released a fire jade spider to pull the demonic sky tripod with Madame Sher. The demonic sky tripod had been pulled out of the sky. The color pattern was very similar to Yunjioga's bronze tripod, but it looked more advanced. Yunjioga immediately threw the strange baby to the back of his mind and prepared to attack. Zishang's fake ruler glowed faintly. He was already aiming at the demonic sky tripod. At this time, the demonic sky tripod suddenly spat out countless sparks and broke free. Then, it turned and leaped towards Yunjioga. Yunjioga's eyes widened as he looked at the round little cauldron, which was glowing with a fiery light. Then, the little cauldron pounced at him with an expression as if it had found its baby. Zishang reached out and grabbed the tripod. The remaining sparks broke the invisibility talisman on Yunjioga. Even Zishang was revealed. Yunjioga was stunned. He'd wanted to be an Oriole but had been exposed early. Wouldn't he become a target? Madame Sher and old Demon Wan looked in shock at the two black-robed people who suddenly appeared in the corner of the screen. Demonic tripod. Yu Sha screamed. An ominous glint flashed across Granny Sher's eyes. She slammed her walking stick down hard, and a black flood dragon soul flew out, bearing its fangs and claws at Yunjioga. Zishang tossed out the disciplinary ruler in his hand and a purple mist burst forth to bind the black WIRM. Next, he picked up Yunjioga and ran toward the teleportation portal. The black flood dragon seemed to be extremely afraid of the purple mist. It shivered and flew back into Granny Sher's walking stick. Old Lady Sher was shocked. She used a real flood dragon, which was incomparably strong and sharp. How could it be scared away by a mere purple mist? How was this possible? Put those things down. Old Devil Wan roared as he threw out the 2 red rings in his hands. His rings had just absorbed a large amount of fire rain, turning into 2 dark red fireballs that were incomparably ferocious. The surging heat waves caused the air to distort. Zishang Zhao didn't even turn his head. 2 purple spirit arrows shot at the dark red fireball, and 2 clouds of purple mist burst out to block the attack. Old Devil Wan was infuriated too. He made a hand seal and detonated the 2 dark red fireballs. The violent, huge, and terrifying shockwaves caused the entire inner hall to tremble. Zishang Zhao held Yunjioga and turned around, holding her tightly in his arms. The powerful shockwaves broke through Zishang Zhao's protective purple mist, sending him and Yunjioga flying. Zishang, are you okay? Yunjioga wasn't hurt by the shockwaves, but she could feel the terrifying power. Zishang wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. Without a word, he carried Yunjioga and rushed into the teleportation portal. Yunjioga placed the spirit stones on it as fast as she could. The portal lit up. By the time Granny Sher and Old Devil Wan brought people over, the portal was already empty. On a barren mountain 50 miles away from Middle Ground, Yunjioga walked out of the teleportation portal weakly. Zishang followed behind him, holding the demonic tripod. He turned around and destroyed the portal. This is the treasure from the ruins? Yunjioga looked at the bronze tripod in Zishang's hand. Yes. Zishang nodded and said, there's a space for growing herbs inside. In the future, if you want to detoxify, you can cultivate your own herbs. Yunjioga's eyes lit up. The 9-stage bone shatter poison in her body was like a chain wrapped around the wound on her neck. If she could remove this chain, her cultivation would definitely be faster. But how did Zishang know there was a space inside the demonic tripod? Master it. Zishang tossed the bronze tripod to Yunjioga. There was no joy on his handsome face. Instead, it was cold. Yunjioga hesitated. This is the demonic tripod. Will it hurt me? No, it won't hurt you. Though Zishang looked very familiar with the tripod, he didn't say anything else. He just told Yunjioga to make him master. All right. Yunjioga thought of the cute baby she'd met in the ruins. Perhaps it could give her an answer. So she bit her finger and dripped blood onto the bronze demonic tripod. The demonic tripod flashed. It couldn't wait to recognize her as its master. Yunjioga's sea of consciousness entered the demonic tripod. What she saw was a vast field. A spirit spring surrounded it and the spirit chi was very rich. Master, I knew that you would save me. A child's voice sounded. Then the horned baby appeared before Yunjioga. It's really you. Yunjioga pursed her lips. Honestly, she didn't have a good impression of it. Master, I'm your most loyal artifact spirit. How can you dislike me? The baby sensed Yunjioga's displeasure. He pouted and was about to cry again. Stop crying. Yunjioga's head hurt when she heard him cry. She quickly asked, do you know Zishang? Of course, I'm just sealed, not destroyed. The little baby pouted, looking insulted. How do you know him? Yunjioga asked again. Because you know him, of course. The baby tilted his head, looking innocent. Then how do you know me? Of course, it's because you are my master. The little cute baby blinked his eyes. Wasn't it a matter of course to know his own master? I don't know you at all. How can I be your master? Yunjioga immediately felt a headache. Was the way she asked the wrong question or was the baby an idiot? Master, you lost your memory after reincarnating. It's normal that you can't recognize me. The baby finally gave an answer that Yunjioga was interested in. Chapter 385. Reincarnation. Do you mean that I was your master in my previous life? Yunjioga continued to ask. It can't be my previous life. The little baby counted his fingers and said with some uncertainty, it seems like it was 10,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago. It's too long, I don't remember. Something that happened 10,000 years ago. Yunjioga couldn't even remember what happened before she transmigrated, let alone the history from so long ago. Yes, Master used to be very powerful. Everyone was afraid of you. The little baby had a face of nostalgia. Then, he touched the little black horn on his head dejectedly and said hatefully, if it was in the past, Wan Sha definitely wouldn't dare to bully me like this. Who is Wan Sha? Don't talk about lover anymore. I want specific information, identity, age, appearance, and cultivation. Yunjioga thought of Zishang saying that the owner of the ruins was his enemy. Could it be this Wan Sha? I can't say. Wan Sha set up a restriction unless you can remove his restriction. The little baby looked pitifully at his extremely weak master in front of him. If it wasn't for the fact that the aura was very familiar and the taste of the blood was very pure, he really couldn't believe that his master, who was once so powerful that all races were afraid of him, would actually be so weak. The chi refinement stage was even weaker than an ant. His poor master. Then I'll go ask Zishang. Yunjioga had already developed the habit of looking for Zishang whenever he didn't understand anything. Don't. You must not mention Wan Sha in front of Lord Zishang. He will go crazy and kill people. Maybe he won't even let you go. The little baby was so scared that his face turned pale and his hair stood up. How is that possible? Zishang would kill her? What kind of joke was this? Please, which man is willing to share his beloved woman with others? You are so weak now. Lord Zishang can strangle you with one finger. Don't look for trouble. The little baby was really anxious. His voice was as sharp as a hen that was being strangled. He was a little hysterical. Did I really have an affair with that Wan Sha in the past? Yunjioga looked suspiciously at the adorable little baby. In her heart, Zishang was perfect, domineering, strong, and fierce. Which man could pass over him to seduce her? The little baby was probably stimulated by Yunjioga's gaze. He stamped his feet and shouted, not just Wan Sha. Master, you used to have a lot of lovers, okay? The human clan, the monster clan, the beast clan, the spirit clan, the devil clan. How is this possible? Yunjioga's eyes widened. Even if she was the founder of the Joyous Union sect in her past life, it was impossible for her to sleep with all the races in the world. It's true. Master, you used to be the continent's most valiant and honorable goddess. Every race had to offer you their most powerful and charming male. Lord Zishang is the strongest male among all the races. You admire him the most and even conferred him the title of guardian. When the little baby talked about the glorious deeds of his master in the past, his little chest immediately puffed up, as if he was proud of it. Yunjioga was now sure that this cute little kid must have recognized the wrong owner. What goddess? What lover? What offering from men? It was all a mess. Based on Zishang's attitude towards her in the past, it was more like she was his tribute. Yunjioga was completely disappointed with the little baby. She decisively changed the topic and asked the little baby, I heard that the space here can grow spiritual objects. Yes. Master, you used to like alchemy and medicine the most, so you specially made a medicine garden. As long as there is enough spiritual power to support it, it can accelerate the growth of plants. The little baby immediately nodded. Later, I will bring in a few dark spirit flowers. You can take a look at me. Yunjioga needed not only the soul-shocking grass but also 100-years-old dark spirit flower to get rid of the third layer of poison. Okay. The little baby patted his chest, indicating that there was no problem. After being sealed for so long, he finally got the attention of his master. He must do a good job. By the way, what's your name? Yunjioga still didn't know the little baby's name. My name is Menghua. This is the name that master personally gave me. The little baby pouted, feeling sad that his master had forgotten his name. Okay. Although this name was very similar to her style of naming, she would never admit that she was its lecherous owner based on this point alone. Master Zishang is calling you. Go out now. Remember, don't mention Wan Sha's name, the little baby quickly said. Yunjioga didn't deny it. Her divine consciousness left the demonic tripod and returned to her body. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Zishang right in front of her. He was observing her without blinking, his hot breath on her face. What are you doing? Yunjioga was shocked and subconsciously stepped back. Zishang grabbed her waist and let go after stabilizing her. He asked casually, you were in the demonic tripod for so long. What did you ask? I just chatted with the artifact spirit inside. Yunjioga thought of little Meng Hua's advice. In the end, he did not ask about Wan Sha. Instead, he tactfully said, that artifact spirit was chubby and quite cute. I forgot to ask what its name was. Zishang looked at Yunjioga deeply and said, it's called Meng Hua. Although it's a bit stupid, it's quite loyal to you. Holy **T, Zishang really knew that artifact spirit. Yunjioga laughed dryly. Meng Hua is quite suitable for him. Let's go. There's more than one teleportation array in the ruins. Those 2 golden core cultivators will escape. Let's get out of here. Zishang clearly didn't want to discuss this. His handsome face was gloomy. Okay. Yunjioga thought of old Demon Wan's crazy look and felt that they wouldn't let her go. She walked to Zishang's side and smelled a faint smell of blood. She quickly reached out to pull him. Are you hurt? Don't touch me. Zishang reflexively dodged Yunjioga's hand. Seeing Yunjioga's shocked expression, he added, I'm fine. He just suddenly remembered something bad. Although it had been a long time, thinking about it still made him feel pain. Oh. That's good. Yunjioga nodded randomly. She didn't even know how to look at Zishang. Could it be that what the little baby said was true? Had she really scummed Zishang in her previous life and gotten a bunch of lovers? But that was in her previous life. If he had the ability, he should have transmigrated back to deal with that scum. Why was he venting his anger on her in this life? Yunjioga thought of the first time she met Zishang. His flirtatious look was because he thought of her as his lover in her previous life. That was why he had teased and touched her. Now that he realized that she was different from the lover in her previous life, he regretted it and became cold. Damn, if that was the case, she was the scum. Chapter 386. Deep in the ruins, old Demon Wan and old Lady Shi stared at the teleportation formation. No, the people over there have already destroyed the teleportation formation. Yusha squatted down to check the teleportation formation and shook her head. Did you see who those 2 men in black were? Old Demon Wan said through gritted teeth. I think they were 2 middle-aged men. I've seen that ruler before. It belongs to an evil old monster from Yinling Mountains. They're at the middle stage of the foundation building realm, someone said immediately. Find him as soon as we get out. Old Demon Wan wanted to kill them. Old Lady Shi gave the same order and parted ways with old Demon Wan with her granddaughter, Yusha. Grandmother, are we just going to leave like this? Yusha was unwilling. They had spent so much effort to open the ruins and many of their men had died. It would be a great loss if they were to return empty-handed. The Savage Corp's secret realm was about to open. She was hoping to get a few treasures to protect herself. Silly girl, the demonic cauldron is gone but there are other treasures. Let's split up and search carefully. We might find something. Old Lady Shi did not believe that she could not find other treasures in such a huge ruin. Then let's hurry up and search before old Demon Wan gets there first. Yusha was an impatient person. She brought a few men and split up with her grandmother. She searched along the ruins but found nothing. The ruins were empty as if it had been swept by locusts. It was so desolate that it was frightening. Yusha's pretty face was flushed with anger. She kept cursing the owner of the ruins for being a stingy person. Just then, a deep and seductive voice rang in her ears. Come here, come here. Yusha was in a daze. She could not help but follow the voice. After passing through a long corridor, she finally arrived at a hidden room. In the dark room, there was a stone statue of a devil of the same height. It had horns like a sheep, black curly hair like seaweed, and its long and narrow eyes were pitch black. Its sexy lips were tightly pursed. Its body was strong and majestic, covered in black scales. It exuded an evil and powerful aura. At that moment, the devil statue's eyes were shining with a strange light. Yusha looked at the devil's eyes that were filled with magic and walked towards it. The devil statue's lips curled up, its expression extremely evil. When Yusha was in front of it, the statue suddenly collapsed. A thick black aura rushed into Yusha's forehead. Yusha shuddered and could not help but close her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, her pupils were pitch black like a bottomless lake, flickering with the light of magic. Goddess, I've waited for 5,000 years, and I've finally found you again. Yusha murmured to herself as the corners of her rosy lips curled into a devilish smile. Her beautiful and delicate face was covered in a layer of black light. There was a strangeness in her beauty that made one shudder. At that moment, Yunjioga and Zishang were hurrying along. Are you hurt, or are you feeling unwell? Zishang looked at Yunjioga's listless appearance and couldn't help but care about her. You weren't injured, so how could I have been injured? Yunjioga's face was cold, and he didn't even look at him. Zishang knew Yunjioga was throwing a tantrum. After a moment of silence, he said, I'm really fine. Those critical hits were nothing to me. Since you're fine, do you dare to let me have a look? Yunjioga stopped in his tracks. His black eyes were bright and determined. All right. Zishang gave in. Moreover, the sky was already dark, and he should find a place to rest. He found a secluded cave and set up a simple defensive formation before checking Yunjioga's pulse. Yunjioga's expression was solemn as he focused on checking Zishang's pulse. He immediately discovered that his pulse was very chaotic, and his body had clearly suffered a huge blow. Yet, he said he was fine. Take off your clothes. Yunjioga's face was stern as he took out the thunder fire needles to perform acupuncture on him. Zishang didn't move as he stared straight at Yunjioga. What, are you afraid that I'll rape you? Yunjioga raised his brows. Although he was still wearing a disguise on his face, the domineering aura emanated from his bones. It was as if he was going to strip Zishang of his clothes if he didn't agree. If it was in the past, Zishang would have teased Yunjioga a little when he heard him acting like a hooligan. Now, however, he took off his clothes without a word, revealing his well-defined, perfect body. His back was filled with red marks that looked like pits. Those were the fire poison left behind by old Demon Wan's ring of fire. Yunjioga's heart ached. After inserting the needles into Zishang's body, she injected spirit energy to force the fire poison out. However, Zishang was now at the golden core stage while she was only at the 7th stage of chi refinement. Why was she so weak? Yunjioga felt defeated for the first time. Don't be sad, I'm fine. Zishang stood up slightly and turned to comfort Yunjioga. His eyes were filled with gentleness. Which eye of yours saw that I'm sad? Lie down. Yunjioga pressed Zishang back and continued to insert needles into him. Circulate your spirit energy according to the order of my needles and force the fire poison out together. Zishang didn't make a sound. Actually, his body was strong. Even if he ignored this injury, it would be forced out sooner or later. However, Yunjioga was obviously in a bad mood. Zishang tactfully didn't continue to provoke her. Instead, he began to circulate his spirit energy according to her instructions. A little red fire poison was forced out. When it dripped onto the floor, it immediately emitted a faint white smoke. Yunjioga's face was tense as if she was angry with someone. The thunder fire needles were fast and accurate. The two tender green leaves on her body also emitted a faint green light. They followed behind the thunder fire needles to repair themselves. In less than the time it took to burn a stick of incense, Zishang had forced all the fire poison out. That strong and broad back returned to its original state. His white jade-like skin glowed with a moist light. It made people want to touch it just by looking at it. Yunjioga knew how smooth and soft Zishang's skin was. It was like fine silk. Touching it was simply a pleasure. She couldn't help but want to reach out, but she heard Zishang's muffled voice. "Are you done?" "Oh, I'm done." Yunjioga came back to her senses. She suddenly felt a little disdainful of herself. In the past, when Zishang opened his arms for her to touch, she didn't cherish it. Now that she was drooling, it was already too late. "Thank you." Zishang got up and put on his clothes. His gray hair fell on his handsome face. There was a sense of alienation and indifference. The thunder fire needles in Yunjioga's hand paused. She looked up at him. There was a hidden bitterness in her tone that even she didn't notice. "You never said thank you in the past." Zishang looked down and said, "That was because I wasn't polite before. I ask for your forgiveness." "Forgiveness my ass. What's wrong with you? Why are you acting so strange? If you have any dissatisfaction with me, then just say it." Yunjioga was angry. "I just feel that I was too disrespectful to you before. It's not good, I'm sorry." Zishang's expression was still indifferent. With his gray hair and gray eyes, he looked as cold as a Een corpse. Chapter 387. Sorry my ass. Yunjioga almost broke the lightning fire needle in her hand. She couldn't hold back the fire in her heart anymore. She grabbed Zishang's collar and said, "I'll say it here today. The previous life is the previous life and this life is this life. Even if I let you down in my previous life, you can't blame this on me." Anyway, she definitely wouldn't take the blame for something she didn't do. "You remember?" Zishang looked a little nervous. His pupils had turned purple. "No, it was the little baby who told me." Just as Yunjioga shook her head, the little baby's screams rang out in her mind, "Master, how can you betray me? I will be killed by Lord Zishang." Yunjioga ignored the little baby and stared at Zishang. She had to make things clear to him. Zishang sighed slightly. His light purple eyes stared straight at Yunjioga and said seriously, "You didn't let me down. Not in the past and not now. Then why are you still so weird?" Yunjioga frowned. Could the little baby have lied to her? She wasn't a scumbag in her previous life. "Master, I didn't lie to you. You really have a lot of people to invite." The little baby continued to scream. "Shut up." Yunjioga shouted at the little baby. The little baby immediately didn't dare to make a sound. "Because you were too powerful in the past. I'm afraid you'll remember what happened in the past and hit me. So from today onwards, you have to be an honest demon." Zishang suddenly smiled. He had the cunning and evil look from before. "I don't need to remember what happened in the past. I can hit you now." Yunjioga punched Zishang. Zishang's handsome face scrunched up and he cooperated with a pained expression. "Keep pretending." Yunjioga couldn't help but punch him again. Zishang didn't resist. There was a doting smile on his light red lips. His gaze was very gentle and there was a trace of sadness. It was as if he was looking through her. Yunjioga felt uncomfortable. She wanted to punch him to death. However, it was too difficult. Yunjioga thought about it and held Zishang's face. She said seriously and persistently, "No matter what I was like in my previous life, in this life, if you don't abandon me, I will live and die with you." Zishang was stunned. He looked deeply into Yunjioga's eyes as if he wanted to see into her heart. Yunjioga did not dodge. Ever since she transmigrated to this body, Zishang had always been by her side, protecting her, teaching her cultivation, and thinking of her. Although Zishang was so hateful that people wanted to beat him to death, he was still very reliable most of the time. Yunjioga did not know if this was love. She only knew that she hated it when Zishang looked at others through her, not even her past self. She wanted to monopolize this hateful male demon, both physically and mentally. Alright, if you don't abandon me, I will be by your side in life and death. Zishang nodded. His eyes curved, and his handsome face shone like a peach blossom. It was like a wisp of spring breeze that blew into Yunjioga's heart. After Yunjioga relaxed, he immediately felt extremely exhausted. He could barely keep his eyes open. She slowly lay down beside Zishang, yawning as she said, "Remember what you said. In the future, you're not allowed to think about anyone else other than me, not even my past life." As she spoke, her voice gradually became deeper and deeper, and she instantly entered the land of dreams. Zishang carefully held Yunjioga in his arms. He touched her face with his palm and revealed her true appearance. Beautiful and exquisite features, a pure and holy aura. She looked very much like she did in her past life. This woman had not awakened her memory, but she was still as domineering as before. When she burned, it was like a raging fire that could melt a person in an instant. And he still could not reject her. No, the two of them were still very different. In her past life, she was the only goddess in the world. She was omnipotent, domineering, and emotionless. She viewed outsiders as ants, and no one could leave a mark on her cold heart. In this life, Yunjioga's cultivation was weak, and she had a stubborn personality. She was a little silly, and a little soft. She was a person who cared a lot about her friends, and she was indebted to everyone who left a mark in her heart. No matter what you look like, I will always love you, forever. Zishang's light red lips pressed lightly on Yunjioga's smooth forehead, and there was a resolute light in the depths of his eyes. He had used all his luck to find her in front of everyone. In this life, he would definitely not give her to anyone. When Yunjioga woke up, she felt refreshed. Just as she raised her head, Zishang planted a gentle kiss on her lips and said, "Good morning." "Morning." Yunjioga wrapped her arms around Zishang's neck and kissed him back passionately. After the Cold War and awkwardness from before, she especially cherished Zishang's clinginess now. "Let's dual cultivate." Zishang's nimble fingers unbuttoned Yunjioga's clothes and slid across her smooth skin. Yunjioga was also very enthusiastic and proactive. She had long been thinking about Zishang's strong abdominal muscles. It had been a long time since she touched them, and she really missed them. The two of them were very cooperative and proactive. Although it was only a very ordinary frontal position, the effects of dual cultivation were much smoother than before. Although Zishang was not able to release himself in the end, the two of them were incomparably satisfied when their minds intertwined. It was completely in the realm of spiritual and physical intertwining. After a hearty dual cultivation session, Yunjioga realized that she had advanced again. She was now at Qi refinement stage 8. When you get rid of the poison in your dantian, you will advance even faster in the future. Zishang reached out and touched Yunjioga's flat stomach. Previously, he was not very concerned about Yunjioga's detoxification. This was because he was worried that Yunjioga's cultivation would advance and unlock the seal in her mind. When she remembered everything in the past, would she abandon him again? But now, he was willing to believe in Yunjioga. When the poison in her body was completely removed, he had to have a child with her. Only then could she completely belong to him. By the way, the dark serene grass in the demonic tripod has already grown. We're just waiting for the loose sister's soul-shocking grass. Yunjioga gave the little baby a batch of spirit stones and quickly ripened the 300-year-old dark serene grass. Calculating the time, the soul-shocking grass should be ripe soon. He had to get rid of the poison in his body as soon as possible. There was still a fiend corpse mystic realm waiting for him at the Een corpse sect. Then go ask them for it. Zi Shang carried Yunjioga and helped her put on her clothes. Ever since the two had confessed their feelings, Zi Shang's attitude towards her had changed a lot. He was more intimate and doting. He also liked to take care of her. He even had to do things like putting on her clothes himself. Seeing that he was happy, Yunjioga let him be. She was happy to slack off. After putting on her clothes, she took out the communication talisman and found that the Lu sisters and Wanli Mingxian had sent her many messages. They kept asking if she was safe. Yunjioga first replied to the Lu sisters and asked where they were. The Lu sisters quickly replied. They were in a workshop in Zhuozhou. Chapter 388. The left prefecture workshop was not far from here. Yunjioga and Zi Shang only spent 4 hours to arrive at the left prefecture. After she agreed on a meeting place with the Lu sisters, Zi Shang remained by her side, invisible. Senior brother Yunjioga, it's great that you are fine. The Lu sisters were very excited to see Yunjioga. After they left the teleportation array, they had been waiting nearby. However, after waiting for a day and a night, Yunjioga still did not appear. He thought that something had happened to her. I came out right after you guys. However, due to some matters, I was delayed. Sorry for making you guys worry. Yunjioga smiled. Because she didn't want the Lu sisters to guess that she was in the ruins, she was worried about how to explain her delayed appearance. She didn't expect that the transmission array had several exits, and the 3 of them appeared in different places. It's good that you're all right. The Lu sisters shook their heads. How's the cultivation of the soul-shocking grass? Yunjioga asked Lu Tian'er. It seems to have matured. Lu Tian'er took out the small flower pot from her storage bag. The soil inside had turned dark, and the soul-shocking grass in the middle no longer had a frightened little face. Instead, it had a complete body, and it even had Lu Tian'er's Hades Daoist form. This is the first time I've seen such a soul-shocking grass in my life. What does senior brother plan to do with it? Lu Tian'er was also very curious about this thing and wanted to test its screaming ability. However, when she remembered that this treasure belonged to Yunjioga, she didn't dare to touch it. If it was damaged, he couldn't afford to pay for it. I plan to use it to detoxify the poison, Yunjioga said. Actually, after absorbing Lu Tian'er's netherworld Dao physique, this soul-shocking grass could be used to cultivate a grass Een corpse. Zi Shang was after all a fake Een corpse. The methods Yunjioga learned in the Een corpse sect could not be used on him. Because Yunjioga didn't like corpses, Zi Shang thought about it and finally came up with the idea of using soul-shocking grass to cultivate Een corpses. Although it would take a long time, if he could successfully cultivate it, he would have a grass corpse that was even more powerful than a living corpse. I see. Lu Tian'er didn't suspect anything. After all, Yunjioga's corpse poison face was well known in the Een corpse sect. Even a Een spirit master couldn't remove it, so it was normal for him to use some strange herbs. Your netherworld Daoist body has been used to feed my soul-shocking grass. I don't have anything good to give you. You 2 sisters can take this cultivation method and practice it. Yunjioga gave the Lu sisters a copy of the secret method of twin girls. This cultivation technique was most suitable for the twins who had a telepathic connection. Not only could they achieve twice the results with half the effort, but they could also master a very powerful combined attack skill. The Lu sisters were wild with joy when they received this cultivation technique. This was especially so for Lu Tian'er. After losing the netherworld Daoist body, she always felt insecure and was afraid that she would drag her sister down. This technique was definitely a timely help. What are your plans now? Yunjioga asked the Lu sisters. We plan to find a place to go into seclusion and wait for the Overlord flower to advance. The Lu sisters had been discussing this matter for the past few days. The incident at the ruins had made them fully aware of the fact that it was pointless to go anywhere without strength. If it wasn't for Yunjioga protecting them, they would have died in the ruins long ago. It's good to go into seclusion and avoid the limelight. When Zishang was fighting for the treasure, he disguised himself as an evil old monster. When the people of the central state ran to find the evil old monster, Yunjioga was worried that the two sisters would be implicated. I heard from senior brother Wanli that the central state is very chaotic now. It's better for us to stay as far away as possible. Lu Mei nodded. At this time, Lu Tian'er thought of another matter. Oh right, senior brother Yunjio. Do you know that senior brother Wanli is the young master of the Myriad Treasure Tower? Turns out that he's the Myriad Treasure Tower's young master. I was wondering why a mere foundation establishment cultivator like him would have such a flashy outfit, even bringing out a sword spirit. Yunjioga came to a sudden realization. Senior brother Wanli is now in the left prefecture's workshop. Senior brother Yunjio, go find him and get a black card. In the future, you can buy things at the Myriad Treasure Tower at 30% off. The Lu sisters immediately got a black card the day they saw through his identity. Okay, I'll go find him now. After saying goodbye to the Lu sisters, Yunjioga walked toward the left prefecture's workshop. However, she wasn't in a hurry to find Wanli Mingxian. Instead, she started walking around the workshop with Zishang. She wanted to see if there were any suitable spirit herb seeds to plant in the demonic tripod. The space inside the demonic tripod was open now, but there were still very few things inside. They had to buy a lot. Zishang was still invisible next to Yunjioga, but he held her hand as they walked. This behavior was a bit annoying, but Yunjioga liked it, so Zishang accompanied her. Yunjioga felt that holding Zishang's hand was very romantic, so she had a lot of fun. Shopping was secondary. When they passed by a small stall, Zishang suddenly pulled her and said, "The couple 200 meters to the left is Jin Chuan and Si Yuyue." Jin Chuan and Si Yuyue? Yunjioga's eyes widened. She looked at the two unfamiliar figures in disbelief. One was an old man, and the other was a pretty granddaughter. If Zishang hadn't reminded her, she definitely wouldn't have recognized them. Why are these two here? Yunjioga had suspected their relationship when she was in Corpse Sect. Unfortunately, Jin Chuan covered it up very well. He never asked about Si Yuyue again, so she couldn't find anything. Follow them, Zishang ordered softly. Jin Chuan and Si Yuyue had high status in Corpse Sect. If she could get something on them, it would be very good for Yunjioga's position in Corpse Sect. Yunjioga thought so too, so she pulled Zishang along and quietly followed behind the two of them. Jin Chuan and Si Yuyue were very vigilant. The two walked around the workshop until it was dark before they quietly left. They walked to the wasteland in the suburbs. Yunjioga and Zishang followed them quietly. Finally, they arrived at a dilapidated temple 200 miles away. At this time, there was a defensive restriction around the temple. Many talismans could be seen shining inside. Those are the talismans of Purple Cloud Sect, Zishang whispered to Yunjioga. Previously, when he and Yunjioga were killing bloodthirsty sect, they had interacted with the elite disciples of Purple Cloud Sect for a period of time. They were very familiar with their talismans. Why did Jin Chuan and Si Yuyue come here to meet Purple Cloud Sect disciples in the middle of the night? Yunjioga frowned. Corpse Sect and Purple Cloud Sect were mortal enemies. Let's go and see. Zishang pulled Yunjioga's hand and silently went to the top of the dilapidated temple. The light of the talismans couldn't stop the destruction of Zishang's demonic power. He stretched out his finger and poked a small round hole in the roof. They could clearly see what was inside. Yunjioga stuck close to Zishang and looked into the round hole. She was instantly shocked. Chapter 389. What did you see? Zishang looked at Yunjioga's round eyes and couldn't help but pull her ear. Help me see if that person is Nangong Li. Yunjioga pointed at the small round hole. worried that she had seen wrongly. It's him, he's already at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment realm. Zi Shang recognized him at a glance. When they swept through the bloodthirsty sect, Nangong Li was only at the peak stage of qi refinement. He didn't expect his cultivation to improve so quickly. How did they get together? Jin Xuan, Si Yuyue, Nangong Li, these three didn't seem to match. Keep watching. Zi Shang hugged Yunjioga and started watching the show. Inside the ruined temple, Nangong Li was dressed in black, his handsome face cold, and he still had an unapproachable look. Jin Xuan and Si Yuyue stood in front of him and cupped their hands at the same time. Subordinate came late. Please forgive us, young master. No worries, Nangong Li said indifferently, then looked at Si Yuyue and said, You recovered your memory? Si Yuyue immediately knelt on one knee and said to Nangong Li guiltily, Subordinate is useless. Before going to Een Corp's sect, I was amnesiac and almost ruined young master's plan. Fortunately, big brother Jin Xuan helped me recover my memory in time. Please punish me, young master. Hearing this, Yunjioga was shocked again. She didn't expect Si Yuyue and Jin Xuan to be from the Purple Cloud sect. No wonder Jin Xuan saved Si Yuyue. You didn't do it on purpose. Fortunately, it was a blessing in disguise and you successfully infiltrated Een Corp's sect. You've been in Een Corp's sect for so long, have you found the whereabouts of my aunt? Nangong Li asked again. It's confirmed that Miss Yu should be hidden by Cho Sen in the forbidden area, Si Yuyue replied cautiously. Hearing this, Yunjioga thought of the golden core girl she saw in Cho Sen's forbidden area. Could she be Nangong Li's aunt? Is my aunt still alive? Nangong Li's cold face revealed a nervous expression. Subordinate can't be sure. Si Yuyue shook her head hesitantly, then said, But I heard that Cho Sen has been looking for a treasure map to a mystic realm these years. A mystic realm treasure map. A fierce look flashed across Nangong Li's eyes as he said, Back then, my aunt discovered a secret realm, which is why she disappeared. From the looks of it, this treasure map should have something to do with Miss Yu, Si Yuyue said. It would be great if we could capture Cho Sen and interrogate him, Nangong Li said while gritting his teeth. Young master, Cho Sen has been concentrating on refining Een corpses for the past few years. Although his cultivation has not completely recovered, he has refined quite a few ape corpse soldiers. I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with them. Si Yuyue quickly advised. That's right, young master. We've already endured for so many years. There's no need to be impatient. Jin Xuan also advised. I understand. You guys continue to investigate, especially regarding the matter regarding the treasure map. You must investigate it thoroughly. Nangong Li quickly regained his stern appearance. I heard that the treasure map was divided into several parts. Now, one of them is in the Fiend Corp's secret territory. According to Cho Sen, he wants to get that treasure map at all costs. Si Yuyue had heard this from Jin Yanwei. Fiend Corp's secret territory? Nangong Li seemed to have thought of something. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he instructed Jin Xuan and Si Yuyue, Since Cho Sen wants it, you guys help him. Once you've collected all the treasure maps, inform me. Yes. Jin Xuan and Si Yuyue nodded at the same time and left the broken temple. Nangong Li stood in the same place for a while before taking out a black pill from his storage bag and putting it in his mouth. Then his body trembled and his height actually increased by 4 inches. The muscles on his face moved again and again, finally turning into the appearance of Wanli Mingxian. Fuck. Yunjioga looked at Nangong Li's transformation and was completely stunned. He was even more shocked than when he found out that Jin Xuan and Si Yuyue were spies from the Purple Cloud sect. She had interacted with Nangong Li before and knew that he was a very quiet and introverted person. Compared to the carefree Wanli Mingxian, it was the complete opposite of him. A person could play 2 roles and do it so naturally. What kind of acting skills did he have? Just as she was thinking about this, she saw that after Nangong Li finished changing his face, he turned his head and grinned, then he walked out in a carefree manner. Although there was no one around, he maintained the appearance of Wanli Mingxian very naturally and did not feel out of place at all. This person's soul is very strange. Zi Shang whispered into Yunjioga's ear, there are two people in his body. Could Wanli Mingxian have been possessed by Nangong Li? Yunjioga asked hurriedly. It's not possession. The auras of these two souls are exactly the same. They're a bit like twins, but they're not. Zi Shang did not know how to describe this situation. Yunjioga thought about it and could only explain it with a split personality. However, as the young master of the Purple Cloud sect and the 10,000 Treasure Tower, Nangong Li was able to become an inner sect disciple of the Black Fiend sect. She did not know how he operated to allow a spiritualist and an evil cultivator to coexist. Yunjioga's situation looked very similar to Nangong Li's, but if her Dantian had not been destroyed and her cultivation had disappeared, she would not have been able to start cultivating in the En Corpse sect's outer sect. After all, Elder Mo Hua and Elder Bai Gu were not blind. However, this had nothing to do with Yunjioga. She was more concerned about the Fiend Corpse Secret Realm's treasure map. This was very likely to be the last piece, so she had to get it. Nangong Li wanted to save her aunt, and she wanted the treasure map. The two of them could work together to deal with Cho's senator. However, it was definitely impossible to speak rashly, so she had to test him first. The next morning, Yunjioga sent a communication talisman to Wanli Mingxian and said that she was in the Zhuozhou. Wanli Mingxian immediately replied, "Where are you?" "I'll go find you." "No need, I'll go to the 10,000 Treasure Tower to find you. I heard that you got a black card for the Lu sisters. You can't drag me down, right?" Yunjioga replied in a joking tone. "No problem, I'll wait for junior brother Yunjio's arrival at any time." Wanli Mingxian could not wait to arrange a time to meet with Yunjioga. Yunjioga went to the 10,000 Treasure Tower, and the shopkeeper immediately welcomed her into the tea room when he saw her. "Junior brother Yunjio, I've been waiting for you at the teleportation formation for a long time. I was afraid that something would happen to you." Wanli Mingxian poured a cup of tea for her. "I'm fine, it's just that the teleportation location is a bit far from you guys." Yunjioga used the perfunctory method that she used to brush off the Lu sisters. "You don't know, but the Zhongzhou is in a mess now. I heard that the demonic tripod in the ruins was stolen by two male cultivators. Old Lady Shi and Old Devil Wan are furious and are looking for them everywhere." Wanli Mingxuan's eyes had a trace of probing in them. After all, Yunjioga came out last, so she might know something. "Do you know who those two male cultivators are?" Yunjioga's eyes lit up, and she pretended to be interested. Chapter 390. The news hasn't been released yet. Actually, Wanli Mingxian had already received some information. It was said that one of them was a demonic old monster. However, such precious information was obtained at a great cost by the brothel. He couldn't just give it to someone else for free, even if it was his savior. This was the rule. What a pity. Yunjioga looked pained for not being able to get the demonic tripod. "Junior brother Yunjio, if you really want to know, I can help you ask around." Wanli Mingxian saw that she didn't look fake and was willing to leak some information for her. However, the price was necessary. "No need, I'm not in the mood for that right now." Yunjioga put down the teacup and looked straight at Wanli Mingxian. "Actually, I came this time to ask if senior brother Wanli has heard of the Fiend Corpse Mystic Realm. The Fiend Corpse Mystic Realm only opens once every 100 years. Every evil sect will send elite disciples to kill fiend corpses and collect fiend beads. However, you're only at Qi refinement level 8. It's not your turn to go." Wanli Mingxuan's expression was calm. "Logically, I shouldn't go, but Ink Flower and Elder White Bones specifically asked me to go." Yunjioga grimaced. "They're clearly trying to mess with you." Wanli Mingxian had a sympathetic expression. Although Yunjioga had the 1,000-year zombie to protect her, being targeted by the elders of the sect wasn't going to be easy. Yes, that's why I came to ask for information. Have you entered the Fiend Corp's mystic realm? Yunjioga asked. I haven't either, but I heard from the seniors that the Fiend Corpses inside are very difficult to deal with. We have to form teams to be safe. You have to be careful. The Corpse sect elder was clearly trying to mess with Yunjioga. The team he sent would definitely be disadvantageous to her. If I enter the mystic realm, can we meet? Yunjioga wanted to find help. The mystic realm is very big. That's hard to say. If we can meet, I'll definitely protect you, Wanli Mingxian said seriously. He was able to leave the mystic realm thanks to Yunjioga's help. He naturally had to help if he could. Besides, their Black Fiends sect focused on refining fiends. No matter how good Yunjioga's 1,000-year living corpse was, it had nothing to do with them. If there was no conflict of interest, there would be no danger. They just needed to kill the fiend corpse. In that case, I will thank senior brother Wanli in advance. When will you be returning to Ean's Spirit Mountain Range? How about we travel together? Yunjioga invited. I still have things to do here. If junior apprentice brother Yunjio is in a hurry to go back, then leave first. Wanli Mingxian shook his head. As the myriad treasure tower's young lord, he still had to walk around more. All right. By the way, I snuck out under the guise of going into seclusion. Senior brother Wanli, don't slip up, Yunjioga reminded. Don't worry. I will definitely not tell anyone. Wanli Mingxian nodded. Are we returning to Corpse Insect now? Zi Shang asked Yunjioga. The sooner I return, the sooner I can get rid of the poison and improve my cultivation. Yunjioga was determined to obtain the last treasure map in the Fiend Corpse secret zone. Furthermore, she had been out for a period of time and was worried that something would go wrong with the Fiend Corpse sect. All right. Zi Shang supported Yunjioga's decision unconditionally. Central State, Sure family. Old woman sat on the main seat with Yu Sha by her side. Together, they looked at a middle-aged scholar who was tied up tightly. Old woman, I really haven't seen the demonic cauldron in the ruins. I've been trapped in the maze. If the ruins didn't suddenly collapse, I wouldn't even have been able to leave. The wicked old monster's body was covered in wounds and blood. He was on the verge of death. At that moment, he was filled with regret. When he heard that the Lu sisters came to the Central State, he hurriedly followed them. He did not expect that he would not be able to capture them and almost encounter such an unfortunate incident. Grandmother, this person is not honest. Let's use the soul-searching technique. Yu Sha stood beside the old woman and said softly. All right. The old woman did not have the patience to listen to the wicked old monster's useless words. Just as she was about to reach out and pull out the wicked old monster's soul, Yu Sha pulled her sleeve and said to the old woman, Grandmother, I've recently gained some insight into the fiend's skill. Why don't I give it a try? Sure, I'll let you try it, the old woman said happily. Although her granddaughter's cultivation base was one level lower than the wicked old monster's, she was there to protect her. It would be fine to let her try it out. Yu Sha walked towards the wicked old monster slowly. Her pink dress was like a lotus swaying in the water. There was a faint smile on her beautiful and exquisite face. The wicked old monster used to love torturing beautiful young ladies like this. But now, he felt terrified from the bottom of his heart when he saw Yu Sha. He begged for mercy, old woman, I really didn't take the demonic cauldron. If you don't believe me, you can swear on your heart demon. I'm willing to sign a master-servant contract with you, as long as you don't. The wicked old monster's eyes bulged, and the rest of his words were stuck in his throat. Yu Sha stood not far away from the wicked old monster. Her fair, jade-like palm exuded a black fiendish aura. There was a black halo floating above it, and the wicked old monster's soul was struggling desperately inside the halo. Good child, it seems like you've improved a lot after entering the ruins. The old woman was pleasantly surprised. Telekinesis required extremely precise control. Even she couldn't control it easily. Yusha didn't reply to her grandmother. Instead, she pinched the wicked old monster's soul and searched for the information she wanted. In the end, she really did see the scene of Yunjioga appearing. How did a goddess turn into a man? Yusha slowly opened her eyes and revealed a smile. Coincidentally, her body was a woman's. It was a perfect match. How was it? Any news about the demonic cauldron? The old woman asked. No, he's been trapped in the maze. Yusha's fingers moved slightly and erased the scene of Yunjioga. Then, she passed the soul to the old woman. I knew that person was pretending. After searching the wicked old monster's soul, the old woman stuffed it into her dragon head walking stick. Grandmother is right. No criminal would use their true appearance to rob someone. Plus, this wicked old monster doesn't have the ability to do so. Yusha followed the old woman's words. Naturally, she knew that the demonic cauldron had left with its master. Whatever, let's put the demonic cauldron aside first. The most important thing for you right now is to focus on the fiend corpse secret area. Our Sure family only got 2 tokens this time. After you go in, find a safe place to kill more fiend corpses. If you can get enough fiend beads, you'll be able to enter the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm. The old woman didn't notice her granddaughter's change and started talking about the benefits of entering the fiend corpse secret area. The fiend corpse secret realm only opened once every 50 years. It was extremely difficult to get a few entry tokens from the major demonic sects, but the benefits were great, especially for a clan like the Sure family that cultivated in fiendish chi. Back then, she had successfully formed her core after coming out of the fiend corpse secret area. No matter how important the ruins and the demonic cauldron were, it wasn't as important as the fiend corpse secret area. Grandmother, don't worry. I will do my best. Yusha had a charming smile. Goddess, let's meet again in the fiend corpse secret area. Chapter 391. Yunjioga and Zishang quietly returned to the corpse sect and found that the defensive array outside had been activated. Needless to say, Inkflower and Elder Whitebone hadn't given up and wanted to disturb them. My defensive array isn't something they can break. Zishang was very confident in the defensive array he'd personally set up. If he wasn't afraid of attracting attention, he could have done better. That's good, Yunjioga answered without looking up and started processing the dark serene grass. She had to quickly make the antidote to increase her cultivation so she could get the last treasure map in the fiend corpse secret realm. Give me the soul-shocking grass. Zishang saw that Yunjioga was so busy and was ready to help. Yunjioga flipped her right hand and took out the small flower pot. Lu Tianer's soul-shocking grass had been grown in the demonic cauldron for a while with spirit stones. It was already 100 years old. The figure that appeared from the seed not only had a complete body, but its facial features were also clear. Its hands were placed by its cheeks. Its eyes were empty and its cheeks were sunken in. Its mouth was wide open as if it was screaming. Drip a drop of blood and you can take out the soul seed. Zishang poked a small hole with complicated patterns on the seed's skin and let Yunjioga drip blood on it. This way, it would be very loyal and obedient after being taken out. Yunjioga was already very familiar with the dripping blood ceremony. The golden red blood dripped into the soul-shocking grass seed. The eyes of the frightened little person opened wider and wider. Its body shook violently as if it was scared to death. Its soul suddenly left the seed and floated into Yunjioga's hand, turning into a ball of light. It's so cowardly. Can it really raise a Een corpse? Yunjioga frowned. She didn't want to raise a Een corpse that screamed at the slightest provocation. Which eye of yours sees that it's cowardly? Zishang poked the little ball of light, and a small person appeared inside, hugging his feet and curling up into a ball. His expression was serene, as if he had fallen asleep. Huh? Yunjioga's eyes widened. She still remembered how this ball of light looked like it was scared to death. The soul shock grass collects soul power of fear, which is why it shows a terrified expression. Now that it has left its body, it's something else. Plant it in the demonic tripod and put more spirit stones in it. When it germinates and bears fruit, we can cultivate a grass corpse, Zi Shang explained. Okay. Yunjioge was also full of anticipation for the magical seed. He immediately put it into the demonic tripod. The little baby was wandering around in boredom. Now, it only planted some spirit herbs every day, which was simply overkill. It was so bored that it was about to go moldy. This time, when he saw the ball of light that Yunjioge sent in, he immediately became excited as if he had seen something good. Is this a demonic soul seed? What is a demonic soul seed? Yunjioge asked curiously. It's a demonic seed condensed from the demonic aura of heaven and earth. The little cute baby looked around the ball of light twice and immediately pursed his lips in disappointment. TSK, so it's a grass soul seed. Who cares what kind of seed it is? If it doesn't grow well, just wait and see how I'll deal with you. Yunjioge glared at him fiercely. This adorable little baby was always ruining the roof if he wasn't beaten for a day. If you spoke to it nicely, it would immediately take a mile after taking an inch. You had to be ruthless in order to deal with it. Don't worry, master. I'll definitely help you plant it. The little baby just wanted to break open the grass soul seed and play with it. Hearing his master's unfriendly tone, he quickly puffed out his chest and promised. That's more like it. Work hard and I'll make you something delicious when we get back. Yunjioge began to give out dates. This guy was a glutton. He didn't know if it was because he had been refined into a demonic artifact, but he shouted every day that he wanted to eat souls. Zi Shang indicated that he could let the little baby eat some souls. After all, he had been sealed for 5,000 years and the consumption was too great. It would be too slow for him to recover slowly. It was fine to use some demonic cultivation methods. Although Zi Shang agreed to let him eat, Yunjioge was in seclusion and had no place to get it. He couldn't let the Een Corpse sect disciple feed him, right? He could only wait for the Fiend Corpse mystic realm to open and get some souls for the little baby. The little baby immediately became high-spirited after getting the sweet dates from Yunjioge. He had to get the grass soul seed out. After Yunjioge settled the little baby, she took out the small bronze cauldron and prepared to refine the antidote. The demonic cauldron that the little baby was in was too strong. Yunjioge couldn't use it at all with her cultivation. As long as she separated the small bronze cauldron from the demonic cauldron and used it, the power would be about 1,000th of the main body. Yunjioge put the soul-shocking grass seed and the 100-year dark serene grass into the small bronze cauldron. Then, she summoned the white bone fire and started refining. 2 hours later, the small bronze cauldron spewed out hot air. The antidote for the second stage of the 9-bone shatterer was finally refined. Yunjioge opened the small cauldron and saw a hazy golden light inside. It had to be consumed on the spot. Yunjioge stuffed the light into her mouth and sat cross-legged to absorb it. Zi Shang stayed by Yunjioge's side to protect her, paying full attention to her condition. The light entered Yunjioge's mouth and began to circulate in her body along with her spiritual power. At first, it was very smooth. The toxins that went deep into the bone marrow were forced out. They followed the light to Yunjioge's dantian and directly entered the base. Suddenly, with a boom, a sharp pain exploded in Yunjioge's abdomen. Yunjioge screamed in pain and fell to the ground, clutching her abdomen. Her face was as pale as a corpse. Jioge. Zi Shang's handsome face changed. He hurriedly lifted her clothes to take a closer look. He saw that Yunjioge's abdomen was heaving up and down. The 8 poisonous lights and the golden light were clashing, using her dantian as a battlefield. The fiercest one was a scarlet poisonous light. 9-bone shatterer was broken and reconstructed. Pain was inevitable. It hurts. Yunjioga moaned in pain. Cold sweat drenched her entire back. Even breathing was difficult. She wished she could kill herself. Zishang's heart twitched. He gently caressed Yunjioga's head and comforted her softly. "Don't be afraid. It won't hurt very long." With that said, he took off their clothes and hugged her from behind. Yunjioga felt the familiar swelling pain. She could not help but roar in her heart. What the hell was this? Dual cultivation. Zishang's heart was as calm as still water. He hugged Yunjioga and silently chanted a cultivation method. A purple demonic energy entered Yunjioga's body. The scarlet poisonous light that was fighting with the golden light in her dantian was like a shark that smelled blood when it smelled the demonic energy. It rushed out of the battlefield and chased after Zishang's demonic energy into his body. The detoxifying golden light also rushed out. Without any opponents, the other 7 kinds of poisonous lights also gradually stopped. Yunjioga did not know that Zishang had drawn the poison away. When she realized that her dantian had calmed down, she sped up the circulation of her spiritual power to expel the poison. Zishang allowed the golden and scarlet lights to wreak havoc in her body. Instead, he continued to pour spiritual power into Yunjioga's body to help her circulate the qi circulation to expel the poison. Chapter 392. Cold sweat seeped from Zishang's forehead due to the pain, but he didn't care at all. His pale purple eyes stared at Yunjioga with concern. Yunjioga focused all her attention on expelling the poison. After 3 cycles, she finally expelled all the poison from the second stage of the 9 shattered bones. "I've advanced again." Yunjioga opened her eyes to find that she had advanced to the 9th stage of qi refinement. Then consolidated a little more. Zishang responded calmly and began to put on his clothes. His movements were steady and there was nothing strange. Okay. Yunjioga also felt that the spiritual power that had just advanced was a little chaotic, so she closed her eyes to meditate again to consolidate her cultivation. Zishang took the opportunity to focus on eliminating the red poison light in his body. Because he was afraid that Yunjioga would find out, he was completely hurting himself. His violent actions worsened his internal injuries. When Yunjioga opened her eyes again, Zishang had already eliminated the red poison light. Yunjioga was so happy that she wrapped her arms around Zishang's neck and kissed him hard on the lips as a reward. Zishang smiled and kissed her back. As long as Yunjioga was fine, nothing else mattered. After Yunjioga's excitement, she remembered that Zishang had suddenly dual cultivated with her. Zishang was a very reliable demon. If detoxification required dual cultivation, he would have done it in advance. He definitely wouldn't have waited for her to be in so much pain. There had to be a reason. "Helping me detoxify won't hurt you, right?" Yunjioga looked Zishang up and down. "Do I look like I'm injured?" Zishang raised his long eyebrows, a devilish smile on his handsome face. He was still as cool and domineering as before, so no one could tell that he was actually injured. "Then why did you suddenly dual cultivate with me?" Yunjioga still didn't believe it. The 9 shattered bones is about breaking and building. You have to experience extreme pain to train your divine sense. But I don't think you can take it, so I can only use spiritual power to help you get through it. But your divine sense training will be a little weaker in the future. Zishang said half-truthfully. Without going through that kind of pain, her divine sense would naturally be a little weaker. He wasn't lying about that. As for guiding the poison into her body, it would devour her cultivation and damage her meridians. There was no need to tell her. So be it. Yunjioga couldn't help but shudder when she thought of that pain. She absolutely did not want to experience that a second time. "I'll help you with dual cultivation next time. Now that you have the demonic tripod, you can slowly train your divine consciousness." Zishang's peerlessly handsome face was suffused with a gentle light as he looked at Yunjioga with a doting and gentle gaze. Every time he detoxified the 9-bone shatterer, he felt like he had died once. Moreover, the more he detoxified, the more tragic it became. If it was anyone else, Zishang would definitely treat them coldly. After all, if one wanted to reap benefits, then they had to suffer. But if it was Yunjioga, he couldn't bear to do it. He had experienced it before, and he didn't want Yunjioga to experience it again. All right. Yunjioga was naturally happy that he did not have to suffer anymore. However, she was still a little worried that Zishang would be affected. This 9-layer bone shatterer poison was definitely no joke. Give me your hand. Yunjioga wanted to check Zishang's pulse to see if he was really not affected as he said. I'm really fine. If you have the time, why don't you quickly find out who went to the Fiend Corp's secret realm? You don't have to worry about your safety with me by your side, but it's rare to enter a secret realm like this. You have to train well. Also, Cuyue should have some clues about the treasure map. You have to hold on to that. After all, you saved her life before. Also, you can start preparing the ingredients for the third antidote. Zishang slowly analyzed all sorts of problems with Yunjioga. Yunjioga nodded as she listened. She had already gotten rid of the second poison. It would not be a problem for her to reach perfected chi refinement in 3 months. Other than investigating the Fiend Corp's secret realm and the treasure map, she also had to start cultivating the antidote for the third poison. The other ingredients were fine, but there was a spirit herb called Bloody Fiend Bead. It was said that it only grew in places with heavy fiendish energy. She had to look for it properly in the Fiend Corp's secret realm. There were too many things to do. Yunjioga became distracted as she thought about it. She immediately forgot to check Zishang's pulse. This had to do with Zishang's disguise. He had plenty of ways to not let Yunjioga know. The more Yunjioga thought about it, the more restless she became. She immediately went to find little Fatty. Senior apprentice brother Yunjio, you advanced again. Little Fatty looked at the newly minted Chi refinement level 9 Yunjioga with his eyes wide open. He had only been in closed-door cultivation for a few months. He had advanced 3 levels like a flying goose. He was simply the most amazing of all. Isn't this normal? Yunjioga knew that there were all sorts of rumors about her being raped by the Eam Corp sect. She had long given up on covering it up. Little Fatty also thought of this. He coughed awkwardly and changed the topic. Senior apprentice brother Yunjio, the candidates for our corp's sect to enter the Fiend Corp's secret realm have been decided. Ever since he knew that Yunjioga was going to the Fiend Corp's secret realm, little Fatty had been collecting all sorts of relevant information. Although he couldn't get any core secrets, it wasn't hard to find out who the participants were. Because the sect leader's peak had very few people, they appointed Yi Jioga and Jinchuan as the representatives. The other peaks were decided through a competition. Inkflower Peak's victors were Bailon and a foundation establishment middle stage senior apprentice brother called Mo Jinyuan. Whitebone Peak's victors were Wolf Fong and a foundation establishment early stage senior apprentice sister called Yuzian. Chouren Peak's victors were Jin Yanwei and Cuyue. They were a couple. Yunjioga raised her eyebrows. There were 4 familiar faces among the 6. On the surface, she had offended the 3 elders, Inkflower, Whitebone and Cho's senator. Everyone thought that their disciples would definitely target her. But in reality, other than Bailon and Mo Jinyuan and Yuzian, the other disciples weren't a big problem. First of all, Cuyue, Jin Yanwei and Jinchuan were busy looking for the treasure map. They definitely wouldn't be in the mood to find trouble with her. Secondly, Wolf Fong had a small friendship with her. If she privately roped him in and gave him some benefits, he would probably turn a blind eye. Yunjioga thought about it and calmed down. She thought of another question. Little Fatty, do you know anyone from the other evil sects and demonic sects? Can you help me find out who's going to enter the Fiend Corp's secret realm? She didn't know what the situation inside the Fiend Corp's secret realm was like. It was always good to find out more information. I do know, but I'm not very familiar with them. But as long as I have spirit stones, it's still very easy to find out. Little Fatty reckoned that the other sects should be the same as them. They were determined through a competition, so it shouldn't be hard to find out. I'll give you 100 spirit stones. Go ahead and find out. The more detailed, the better. Especially the Black Fiend sect's name list. It's best if you can find out where the masters came from and what magic tools they're proficient in. Yunjioga mainly wanted to know about Yi Rui. This girl had been in the Black Fiend sect for a period of time. With the help of the demonic sect's supreme expert, her cultivation shouldn't be too bad. And Nangongli, if he wanted to find the treasure map, he had to pay more attention to him. Chapter 393. Senior Brother Yunjio, don't worry, leave this to me. Little Fatty was very excited. These people were all his connections and his network would be even bigger in the future. After Yunjioga and Little Fatty parted ways, she returned to the cave abode and started to prepare things to win over Wolf Fong. Wolf Fong was now in Foundation establishment and the Meridian Protection Pill was suitable for him. She still had a lot on hand and it would be good to give them as gifts. If you give him pills for free, he probably won't dare to take them. Why don't you sell him some good defensive Dharma artifacts? He'll need them in the Fiend Corp's mystic realm. Zishang thought more carefully than Yunjioga. If Elder White Bones really ordered Wolf Fong to do something, Yunjioga's gifts would be useless. She might as well do some business at a low price. She wouldn't lose out and it would be easier to build a relationship. You're right. Yunjioga thought about it and agreed. If Wolf Fong misunderstood and wanted him to deal with Elder White Bones, it would be troublesome. However, she could prepare for two things when giving gifts. He wouldn't accept the Dharma artifacts after giving pills first. She had collected a lot of things on her way to Central Continent. Now was the time to sort them out. After Yunjioga sorted them out, she had a total of 10,000 spirit stones, talismans, and pills. There were 12 types of defensive artifacts, all of which were common goods that could be used in the workshop. There were 8 offensive Dharma artifacts. The 3 most valuable ones were obtained from mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivators. There was a small black iron hook, a green ghost ruler, and the fat old man's bamboo cane. Although the iron hook and the green ghost ruler were rare high-level Dharma artifacts, Yunjioga couldn't sell them for fear that someone would find out about her. However, when the fat old man took out the bamboo cane, treasure-seeking scorpion crawled out of Yunjioga's new high-level spirit beast bag. Master, there's a treasure. Treasure-seeking scorpion didn't perform well at the ruins. Recently, it wanted to perform well. Now that it smelled the spiritual light, it immediately crawled out. Which one is the treasure? Yunjioga immediately took out all the treasures in the storage bag. Treasure-seeking scorpion circled around it twice and finally stopped beside the bamboo cane. It said hesitantly, "This thing has a very powerful spiritual light." It was preparing to advance recently and its spiritual sense was stronger than before. That was why it could faintly sense the spiritual light from the bamboo cane, but it didn't know what treasure it was. Spiritual light? Yunjioga carefully looked at the bamboo staff. It was only 3 feet long and had a dark green surface. There was nothing special about it. It wasn't even as eye-catching as the 3 leaves that served as weapons. Zishang picked up the bamboo and looked at it carefully. He said, "This bamboo seems to be alive. Try using your wood spirit power." With that, he handed it to Yunjioga. "Let me see." Although Yunjioga could devour wood spirits, he rarely used them, so he didn't discover the secret of the bamboo at first. When she tried to infuse wood spirit energy into the bamboo to check, she immediately discovered that this bamboo was not bamboo at all, but the root of some kind of plant. It contained a strong vitality, like a vast ocean. Just a short section of the rhizome was already so powerful. If it was a complete tree, how powerful would it be? Yunjioga immediately decided to use the demonic tripod to grow this thing. At this time, the demonic tripod had changed a lot after all this time. The originally empty herb garden was now neatly planted with rows of spirit herbs. There were purple monkey flowers and red rock grass that Yunjioga needed for the third stage of detoxification. There were also many herbs for the Yin Meridian Protection Pill. Other than the herb garden, there were also rows of red fruit trees outside. They were filled with pink spirit peaches that were ready to ripen. These peaches were not only full of spirit energy but could also nourish meridians. Most importantly, they were good for spirit beasts' advancement. Yunjioga had planted them for the treasure-seeking scorpion couple. Next to the stream was a top-grade herb garden with the densest spirit energy. Now, only the grass soul seed was planted. This kind of rare thing consumed a lot of spirit energy and usually had to be planted separately. The little baby was attentively serving the grass soul seed by the stream. He had moved most of the spirit energy from the demonic tripod here so that the grass soul seed could germinate and bear fruit faster. He could have a few top-grade souls to taste. Back then, Wan Sha had let him eat freely. Those days had been so beautiful. When the little baby thought of this, he couldn't help but touch the little black horn on his head. Without the support of souls, his horn had become smaller and wasn't pretty anymore. How could he find a partner in the future? He didn't want to be a lover like Wan Sha. He wanted to be a wife like Lord Zishang. Just as the little baby was sighing, Yunjioga's divine sense came in with the bamboo. He asked the little baby, "Do you know what this is?" Here's the chance to perform." The little baby was shocked. He quickly took the bamboo and looked at it carefully. Then, he looked at it again and again. Then, he sadly realized that he didn't recognize it at all. "Master, I've been sealed for 5,000 years. In order to find you, I wasted a lot of divine sense. I don't remember many things." The little baby touched the little black horn on his head. He felt wronged. "It's fine if you don't remember. Just tell me if you can plant it." Yunjioga didn't have high expectations for the little baby, so he wasn't disappointed. "I can plant it, but this root system is a bit strange. I'm afraid it will cost a lot of spiritual power to plant it." Planting things was the little baby's instinct. Even if he couldn't recognize it, he could still plant it. How much spiritual power will it cost? Yunjioga thought that if it wasn't much, he would plant it first to see what it was. If it was something good, he would be rich. "If I use spirit stones, it will cost at least 500 high-grade spirit stones." The little baby roughly estimated. "What?" Yunjioga was stunned. One high-grade spirit stone was equivalent to 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. 1,000 high-grade spirit stones was equivalent to 5 million. The 10,000 low-grade spirit stones in her hands couldn't even be counted as a living thing. How could she raise it? "Plant it first. Just make sure it can survive." Yunjioga decisively gave up. 5 million spirit stones. Even if she sold herself, she wouldn't be able to get this number. However, even if she couldn't earn it now, it didn't mean that she would keep it as a memento. "Actually, if you don't use spirit stones, there's another way." The little baby blinked his big eyes. His small round face looked like he was thinking for Yunjioga. "What way?" Yunjioga's eyes lit up and he quickly asked. "If you use souls to raise it, you only need 10,000 souls." The little baby was very naive and innocent as he raised a tender little finger. He indicated that this method was much easier than getting high-grade spirit stones. There were people everywhere in the Yin Soul Mountains. It was a piece of cake to kill thousands of people. When the time came, he would secretly get some to satisfy his craving. Presumably, his master wouldn't find out. "Hee, 10,000 souls." Yunjioga chuckled at the little baby and then scolded fiercely, "Why don't you go to heaven? If you like eating souls so much, go back to your Wan Sha. I can't afford to support a demon like you." Every day, he provoked her to kill people to find souls. Did he really want to force her to become a female demon who killed people without blinking? Chapter 394. Sob, I was just giving you an idea. It's fine if you don't accept it, but why are you being mean to me? The cute baby pouted and started crying. What are you crying for? Hurry up and plant it for me. If it doesn't survive, I'll teach you a lesson. Yunjioga had already seen through this guy's evil face and wasn't fooled at all. Right away, right away. The cute baby immediately stopped crying and didn't dare to cause any more trouble. After receiving the bamboo, he eagerly chose a spot far away from the grass soul seed and planted it. Then, he made a hand seal to draw water from the stream to water it. Yunjioga saw that the cute baby was obedient and left the demonic tripod tiredly. What's wrong? Did that cute baby make you angry again? Zishang noticed Yunjioga's bad expression and asked gently. Do you think I was a bad, vicious, and overbearing demoness in my previous life? Yunjioga asked sullenly. Although she didn't think she was a good person, she didn't expect herself to be so bad in the past. Why do you ask? Zishang raised his eyebrows. What had triggered this girl? Otherwise, why would I make such a demonic tripod that eats souls at every turn? 10,000 at once. The cute baby's matter-of-fact look proved that he really had eaten a lot in the past. Although the Een Spirit Mountain was the base camp of the evil and demonic sects, the big sects all had their own cultivation methods. Whether it was Een Chi, evil Chi, ghost Chi, essence Chi, or soul Chi to cultivate, they all had their own authentic sources. No one would kill people to cultivate. If evil disciples killed people like flies, the ordinary people of the Een Spirit Mountain would have died long ago. How could they recruit disciples to expand their sect? Those who relied on killing to cultivate were either small sects or scattered evil cultivators. Not to mention the righteous sects, even the evil sects and demonic sects would not hesitate to do the same to the evil sects, let alone the righteous sections. The cute baby is just greedy. I'll teach it slowly in the future, Zishang said indifferently. To him, it didn't matter how bad the cute baby was as long as it was useful to Yunjioga. Yunjioga realized that he had found the wrong person. Zishang was also a bad person. He wouldn't care about the cute baby's gluttony. However, Zishang was right. The little adorable baby was just a glutton. His demonic nature was not very strong. At least, once he roared, he would be well behaved. Actually, the soul was something that consumed the soul energy within it. She remembered that there was a type of pill that was used to nourish the soul. However, the materials needed for the soul-nourishing pill were relatively rare. She could only refine it after she successfully built her foundation, so she could put it aside for now. At present, the most important thing was the matter of the Fiend Corp's secret territory. Yunjioga quickly composed himself. He packed up a bottle of Een Meridian Protection Elixir and 2 decent defensive Dharma artifacts before preparing to find Wolf Fang. Some time ago, Wolf Fang had accepted a task that allowed him to cultivate and earn money without neglecting anything. Today was the day he was supposed to return to the sect to hand over the task. He did not expect to be stopped on the way. Senior brother Wolf Fang, long time no see. Yunjioga greeted. Junior brother Yunjioga, you're out of seclusion. Wolf Fang could not help but feel surprised when he saw Yunjioga, who was already at the 9th stage of Chi disciple. This junior brother's cultivation speed was really fast. Actually, at Yunjioga's age, not to mention the 9th level of Chi disciple, there were also many at the foundation establishment stage. However, those were all genius disciples that the sect spent all their efforts to nurture from a young age. People like Yunjioga, who had no father, no mother, and directly entered the 9th level of Chi disciple within 2 years, were extremely rare. However, when he thought of the 1,000-year living corpse beside Yunjioga, Wolf Fang felt somewhat relieved. Those who had fortuitous encounters were obviously different. However, Wolf Fang did not want this kind of fortuitous encounter. If it was a lively and beautiful female living corpse, it was fine if he closed his eyes and pounced on her. However, being pressed down by a male living corpse was unbearable. This was also why, although Yunjioga was eye-catching in the Een Corpse sect, there were not many people who envied and hated him. Senior brother Wolf Fang, I have something to ask you. This time going to the Fiend Corpse secret territory, did Elder White Bones give you any instructions? Yunjioga knew that Wolf Fang was a straightforward person and did not like to play games, so he asked directly. Yes, Master instructed me and Senior Sister Yu to cooperate with Senior Sister Bailan when the time comes. If there's a chance, we'll kill you. Wolf Fang also said it very directly. I wonder what Senior Brother Wolf Fang thinks about this matter. Yunjioga asked. I'm not free. Wolf Fang said without hesitation. He had always admired Yunjioga's strategy and strength. Although he could not be on good terms with Yunjioga because of Master, he did not want to deal with her. Senior Brother Wolf Fang, let's not beat around the bush. I don't expect you to help me deal with Bailan, but I hope that you can go easy at the crucial moment and give me some information. This bottle of Een Meridian nourishing pill was personally refined by me. Treat it as a thank you gift. Yunjioga showed his sincerity. Wolf Fang's eyes instantly lit up. He heard that Xian Workshop recently produced a batch of extremely pure Een Meridian nourishing pill. Unfortunately, the price was expensive and the quantity was limited. He had always felt regretful that he did not get it. However, when he thought of Yunjioga's request, he still rejected. Junior brother Yunjioga, although I don't want to deal with you, sometimes I have no choice. Wolf Fang did not want to put shackles on himself. If he could not do it, then he would not be a man on both sides. I was too impulsive. Yunjioga had already guessed that Wolf Fang would not accept it, so he immediately changed his plan and said, this trip to the Fiend Corpse secret territory is filled with danger. I wonder how Senior Brother Wolf Fang's preparations are going. You should prepare a few good defensive immortal treasures. I heard that the killing intent inside is enough to kill people silently. When Wolf Fang heard this, he was depressed. He naturally knew that the evil chi in the evil corpse mystic realm was powerful. Without good defensive artifacts, he would be at a disadvantage. His set of demonic bone spikes was good for attacking, but its defensive ability was far inferior. Moreover, the better defensive artifacts were all extremely expensive. He had bought quite a lot of things previously and was short on money. Thus, he wanted to do missions to earn spirit stones. But before he could save up enough spirit stones, all the defensive magic tools that he fancied were bought away. He was feeling depressed in his heart. Yunjioga could see Wolf Fang's depression at one glance. He said, I have a few good defensive artifacts here. If Senior Brother Wolf Fang likes them, name a price and take them. With that, he took out the 2 artifacts that he had prepared. One of them was a rank 4 Vajra talisman. When used on the body, it could withstand 3 full attacks from a middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. The other was a small gray flag. On it was a light green sword talisman that looked like a flood dragon. Not only could it shoot out flying sword attacks, it also had the aura of a flood dragon to protect the body. It could both attack and defend. It was a good item. Wolf Fang could not take his eyes off it. In the depths of his eyes, there was only the word want. In another 4 months, the evil corpse mystic realm would open. In such a short time, even if he went into closed-door cultivation, he would not be able to raise his cultivation by much. Thus, the Een Meridian nourishing pill was not what he needed the most. However, he really liked the 2 items that Yunjioga took out. He really wanted them. Wolf Fang knew that if he really bought them, he would owe him a favor. However, he had spent spirit stones. It was better than asking for things for nothing. Thus, Wolf Fang said decisively, I will buy both of them. Junior brother Yunjioga, name a price. Chapter 395. I got these cheaply. Senior brother Wolf Fang, do as you see fit. Yunjioga said. She had Zishang's demonic power restriction on her, which was much better than this defensive magic artifact. Furthermore, she still had the demonic cauldron. Although it wasn't of much use now, it could still be used to block at a critical moment. These two defensive Dharma artifacts are both high grade. If I were to sell them in the shop, they would be sold for at least 700 spirit stones each. I only have 1,200 spirit stones now. Can I use my contribution points to exchange for the rest? Wolf Fang's slightly tanned face was a little red. He had gotten a great bargain this time. Such a good defensive magic artifact couldn't be bought with money. Alright, no problem. Yunjioga wasn't here to earn money. However, she was still a little emotional. Senior brother Wolf Fang was already a foundation establishment cultivator. Why was he still so poor that he couldn't even gather spirit stones? Yunjioga misunderstood Wolf Fang. For cultivators who were still using spirit jades to exchange, Wolf Fang's 1,000 spirit stones were already very rich. However, cultivation costs were high. Wolf Fang, who only focused on cultivation to increase his martial strength, had no other income other than doing hard work. Naturally, his days would be hard. Wolf Fang didn't know what Yunjioga was thinking. He took out spirit stones and happily exchanged the two magic artifacts. Then, he said excitedly, when I enter the Fiend Corpse mystic realm, I'll have money after killing more fiend corpses. Although the Fiend Corpse mystic realm had risks, the benefits were very obvious. This was because killing fiend corpses would give a type of baleful bead that was not inferior to spirit stones. It could be used for cultivation or sold to others. Of course, the sect wouldn't send disciples in for free. Every disciple had to give a certain number of baleful beads to the sect and they came out of the mystic realm. If they couldn't complete the mission, not only would they be heavily punished by the sect, the mountain they were at would also have to compensate the sect for their losses. Elder White Bones was a very practical person. Between revenge and benefits, benefits were more important. Alright, then I wish Senior Brother Wolf Fang success and wealth rolling in. Oh right, are you familiar with Senior Sister Yuzian? Yunjioga had never seen this Yuzian before and didn't know what was going on. You don't have to worry about Senior Sister Yu. Unless Bai Lan can take out huge benefits, she won't bother. Wolf Fang was in a good mood after buying the magic artifact, so he gave a lot of information. For example, Yuzian was a money grubber, and Mo Jingyuan was gay. Thank you, Senior Brother Wolf Fang. When Yunjioga heard what Wolf Fang said, he felt confident. It's just a small matter. It's getting late, so I'll be taking my leave first. Wolf Fang was in a hurry to hand in his mission. He cupped his fists at Yunjioga and left. Yunjioga had also returned to his cave abode and happened to bump into Little Fatty who had come to deliver the name list. The 5 devil sects were the Black Fiend sect, the 1,000 Ghosts sect, the Joyous Union sect, the Een Corpse sect, and the Soul Devourer sect. Each of them sent 8 people, and they were all elite disciples at the Foundation establishment stage. However, what surprised Yunjioga was that there was no Wanli Mingxian or Yi Rui in the Black Fiend sect. It was normal for Yi Rui not to go, but Wanli Mingxuan's previous attitude was that he was determined to win, so how could he not go? Yunjioga sent a message to Wanli Mingxian, but he received an apologetic reply. He said that something had happened at home, so he had given up his spot to someone else. He didn't say what exactly happened, and Yunjioga didn't ask. Other than the 5 demonic sects and evil sects, there were also a few small sects and aristocratic families. Among them, the words Zhongzhou caught her eye. Yu Sha, this name sounds familiar. Have you seen her before? Yunjioga turned and asked Zishang. Zishang's memory was much better than Yunjioga's. He recalled the people he'd seen in the ruins and had an answer. There's a Foundation establishment girl standing next to Old Lady Sher. I think she's called Yu Sha. If people from Zhongzhou are also going to the Fiend Corp's secret realm, then I'll have to consider using the demonic tripod in case the news gets leaked. Yunjioga felt that it was better to be cautious. That's okay. I heard that the last treasure map is indeed in the Fiend Corp's secret realm. If we want to get it, we have to collect bloody murderous beads. Zishang hadn't been idle during this time. He made a few puppets and placed them on enemy peak to eavesdrop. As expected, he heard an important piece of information. Wait, aren't bloody murderous beads medicinal materials? What does it have to do with the treasure map? Yunjioga remembered that the third antidote for the 9-bone shatterer required this bloody murderous bead. The last treasure map is hidden in a place that requires bloody murderous beads to find. But I don't know the specifics. Zishang shook his head. Cho Sen had told Jin Yanwei through a secret technique. If they wanted to know, they had to search his soul. Then how do we get the bloody murderous beads? Yunjioga was more concerned about this. Kill until the flying corpses appear. Zishang's voice was filled with murderous intent. The ranks in the fiend corpse secret realm were clear. From high to low, they were flying corpses, golden corpses, silver corpses, bronze corpses, and iron corpses. As long as they went on a killing spree, they would attract flying corpses. Flying corpses were equivalent to golden core cultivators. They were much stronger than human golden core cultivators, comparable to mid-stage golden core cultivators. Bloody murderous beads were equivalent to their golden core cultivators. It wouldn't be easy to get them. So powerful? Can you deal with them? Yunjioga was a bit worried. A mid-stage golden core flying corpse was terrifying. It's a bit difficult. I might need your demonic tripod. Only Foundation establishment cultivators were allowed to enter the fiend corpse secret realm. After Zishang entered, his cultivation would be suppressed. He could only use early-stage golden core power. He would need external items to kill flying corpses. It's fine. Cho Sen is determined to get this treasure map. He should have a way. We'll just follow behind him and pick up the loot. Yunjioga had Zishang, but she knew too little about the fiend corpse secret realm. She wasn't prepared enough either. She had to think of another way. There are too many variables. You have to rely on yourself. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you get the bloody murderous bead. Zishang was determined to get the bloody murderous bead. Yunjioga knew that Zishang was helping her detoxify the poison. She couldn't help but feel depressed about her broken body. There are still 4 months. Hurry up and cultivate. Zishang carried Yunjioga and threw her on the bed. Then, he started cultivating. In the following days, Yunjioga and Zishang spent most of their time on the bed. They did all kinds of positions. Finally, they reached Qi refinement stage 12. Still a bit lacking. Yunjioga felt it was a pity that she couldn't enter Foundation establishment in one go. Looks like you didn't sleep enough. Zishang patted Yunjioga's head. He decided that after they left the fiend corpse secret realm, he would definitely go into seclusion and sleep until she reached Foundation establishment. Yunjioga agreed. Just then, Jin Xuan's cold voice came from outside the cave. Junior brother Yunjio, the sect leader has gathered us in the main hall. We're going to the Fiend Corpse Valley. I almost forgot. Today is the day we leave. He was so focused on cultivating that he forgot about such an important matter. It's not too late to go now. Zishang still remembered. You won't be invisible this time, right? Yunjioga asked. The 3 elders were all in the main hall. Invisibility was useless to them. They might think that he was provoking them. Yes. Although Zishang was no longer invisible, there was a layer of Yin Qi on his face. He looked very gloomy. Yunjioga was very satisfied with Zishang's current appearance. Beauty was good for him to see, why was there a need to show off to others? Chapter 396. When Yunjioga and Jin Xuan arrived at the main hall, the 3 elders had already arrived with the disciples of the various peaks. Seeing Yunjioga bring Zishang in, Elder Mo Hua sneered, his eyes filled with hatred, still bearing a grudge for what happened before. Elder White Bone was expressionless. He had found a good spirit bone some time ago, so he did not care about Yunjioga's profound white bone monkey anymore. Cho Sen stood in the middle, lost in thought, not even casting a glance at him. Yunjioga secretly sized up his short figure, thinking that an adult man only had the body of a 5-year-old, unable to do anything. How pitiful. Fortunately, Cho Sen did not see Yunjioga's sympathetic gaze, otherwise he would have definitely flipped out. Junior brother Yunjio, you're here. Si Yuyue, who was standing behind Cho Sen, greeted with a smile. Yunjioga smiled and nodded, not replying. Jin Yanwei glanced at her and ignored her. Wolf Fang, on the other hand, did not look sideways. Beside him was a round-faced senior sister. She had a golden abacus in her hand, and no one knew what she was planning. The corners of her mouth curled up, and she smiled like a miser. It was Yuzian. Junior brother, long time no see. Congratulations on advancing. Bailan also greeted Yunjioga, and even secretly winked at her, as if she was very familiar with her. Beside her stood a tall and beautiful young man. It was Mo Jinyuan of the Ink Flower Mountain. He was wearing a red robe embroidered with gold patterns, and his fingers were playing with the black hair on his chest. A pair of slanted eyes flew up and down, carefully sweeping a glance at Yunjioga. Probably because he did not like her weak appearance, he turned to Zishang. Unfortunately, Zishang's body was covered in a hazy yin qi, and he could not see anything clearly. He retracted his gaze in boredom, and then rolled around on Wolf Fang's tall and strong body, as if he wanted to strip him naked and touch him to his heart's content. Yunjioga was suddenly enlightened. No wonder Wolf Fang knew that Mo Jinyuan had a habit of cutting sleeves. Junior brother Yunjio, this way. Jin Xuan brought Yunjioga to the sect Master Mountain. Although they were not on good terms with Yunjioga, they were still disciples of the sect Master Mountain, so they had to stand together at this time. Senior brother, will the sect master come today? Yunjioga asked softly. Of course. Just as Jin Xuan finished speaking, a man walked out from the back of the hall. The last time Yunjioga saw the sect master was when he was being pursued by Mo Hua and the other elders. At that time, he had only seen the sect master's back. This was the first time he had seen the sect master's face. Who would have thought that the sect master's face would be covered by a layer of black fog, making it impossible to see his face clearly? Yunjioga was incomparably depressed. He had heard from Little Fatty that the sect master used to be very generous and would always show his face to others. Why was he acting so mysteriously recently? This time, the Fiend Corp's secret territory will be led by Elder Cho. Senator, take your tokens and enter the secret territory to kill as many Fiend Corpses as possible. The sect master was not a talkative person. After giving a few words, he threw out a few streaks of gray light that flew into everyone's hands. Yunjioga caught the gray light and found that it was a palm-sized circular token with a ferocious-looking black fiend corpse carved on it. It was the token to enter the Fiend Corp's secret realm. Let's go. Cho Sen gave the order and walked out of the hall first. The Fiend Corp's secret realm was 3,000 miles away from the Yin Corp sect. If it was a normal flying artifact, it would take at least 2 days. However, this time, they were entering with the 5 great sects, so they definitely could not lose face for the sect. Therefore, the sect master very generously lent the sect's flying artifact. This was a ferocious-looking black flying ship. There were several cannon holes on the ship's body. Not only was it extremely fast, but its attack power was also shocking. Yunjioga boarded the flying ship and found a quiet corner at the back of the ship to sit down. He closed his eyes and rested. The others also found a place to rest. No one spoke. Only Bailan rolled her eyes and walked towards Yunjioga with a faint smile, looking like she wanted to befriend him. It was Yunjioga who did not want to deal with her, so he secretly transmitted to Zishang, "Don't let her bother me." "All right." Zishang agreed. Bailan walked in front of Yunjioga and was about to speak when her vision blurred. She was actually thrown to the bow of the ship by Zishang, almost hitting Jin Yanwei. Senior Sister Bai, can't you be a little quieter? My master has been in a bad mood recently. It will not be good to anger him. Jin Yanwei had always disliked Bai Lan's hypocrisy. His tone was also very bad. Sorry. Bai Lan repeatedly apologized. This time, the leader was Elder Cho's senator. There was no benefit in going against Jin Yanwei. Therefore, although Bai Lan was depressed, she did not dare to say anything to explain. All right. Find a place to sit. Jin Yanwei waved his hand and sent her away. After Bai Lan left with an apologetic smile, she glared hatefully at Yunjioga. Yunjioga did not open his eyes from beginning to end. He looked like he did not know what had happened. Bai Lan's hatred grew deeper. She could not help but think, I'll let you be happy. Wait until we enter the Fiend Corp's secret realm. Thinking of the treasure that Master had given her, Bai Lan became proud. Originally, she wanted to rope in Yunjioga with a few words to make her lower her guard. It seemed like there was no need to waste time. The black warship flew for a day and a night before arriving at the Fiend Corp's Valley the next morning. At this time, the Fiend Corp's Valley was still empty. The people from the Een Corp's sect were the first to arrive. Master told everyone to go down and act freely. When the disciples of the other 4 sects arrive, we will enter the Fiend Corp's Valley together. After Jin Yanwei conveyed the instructions on behalf of his master, he eagerly went to serve his master. Si Yue followed beside Cho Sen in a flattering manner. Yunjioga stepped on his evil blade and landed on the empty Fiend Corp's Valley. As usual, he found the most remote corner and sat down. This time, Bai Lan had learned her lesson and did not come over to chat. Jin Xuan had a stern face, as if no one was allowed to approach him. Yu Zian held a golden abacus in the corner and made a pa-pa sound. Her face was in high spirits. Wolf Fang stood on a large rock not far from Yunjioga. Mo Jinyuan was chatting and laughing beside him. His pair of slanted eyes flew around, constantly throwing flirtatious glances at Wolf Fang. Wolf Fang looked like he was having a hard time enduring, but Mo Jinyuan's cultivation was higher than his, so he could only continue to endure. Fortunately, after the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, a ray of light flashed in the sky. Following that, a light belt formed by pink peach blossom petals appeared. The leader was a female cultivator at the early Aurus core stage dressed in a peach blossom palace dress. She was incomparably beautiful, and there was a peach blossom embroidery on her forehead. She was the elder of the Joyous Union sect, the Peach Blossom Fairy. Behind her stood 6 women and 2 men. The women were exceptionally beautiful, enchanting and charming. The man was tall and handsome, but his eyebrows carried an exaggerated aura. Mo Jinyuan glanced at the male disciples of the Joyous Union sect. He was obviously not interested and continued to pester Wolf Fang. Big Brother Cho, long time no see. The Peach Blossom Fairy kept her flying magic tool and gracefully walked towards Cho's senator. Her pair of limpid eyes looked at Cho Sen with deep emotion, as if there was a story between them. Chapter 397. Cho Sen looked up at the Peach Blossom Fairy and replied, "Long time no see. Brother Cho, after so many years, you are still so cold. Do you really not understand my feelings?" The Peach Blossom Fairy was sad. Her pitiful look could make any normal man feel guilty and heartbroken. They would want to pull her into their arms and comfort her. Unfortunately, Cho Sen was not a normal man. His face darkened and he directly said, "I don't understand, and I don't want to understand." After that, he closed his eyes and rested. The Peach Blossom Fairy looked very sad, but she did not dare to disturb Cho Sen, so she left with grievance. The elders of the 2 sects were at loggerheads, and the disciples did not dare to communicate with each other. Bai Lan originally wanted to strike up a conversation with the 2 male disciples, but seeing Elder Cho Sen's attitude, she immediately dispelled the idea. The entire Fiend Corp's Valley was filled with an awkward atmosphere. Fortunately, the Soul Devourer sex people also arrived at the Fiend Corpse Valley on a white bone flying ship. The leading Golden Core elder was 7 feet tall and had a dignified appearance. He held a skull in his hand, and when he saw Cho Sen and the Peach Blossom Fairy, he laughed and said, "You two came so early. Did you make an appointment beforehand?" Big brother Zhou Hua really likes to joke. The Peach Blossom Fairy glared at Zhou Hua and said sadly, "I wanted to ask brother Cho out, but he ignored me. Cho Sen, it's not that I want to criticize you, but the curse on your body can be solved as long as you dual cultivate with the Peach Blossom girl. Why are you unwilling?" Zhou Hua shook his head and sighed. It seemed that he was quite familiar with Cho Sr. Shut up. Cho Sen glared at Zhou Hua, then closed his eyes and went back to meditating. It was obvious that he didn't want to talk to him. TSK, what a bad temper. Zhou Hua seemed to be familiar with Cho Sen's temper. He shook his head and didn't say anything more. He just chatted with the Peach Blossom Fairy about other things. The soul-devouring sex disciples were also made up of 5 men and 5 women. Although they were not as outstanding as the Joyous Union sex disciples, they were all good with words and could call anyone their brother. Bailan and the soul-devouring sect disciples chatted enthusiastically, and the Joyful Union sect disciples could not bear the loneliness and quickly joined in. The atmosphere finally became lively. No one knew what they were talking about, but from time to time, someone would sneak a few glances at Yunjioga. After all, Yunjioga was the only Qi refinement disciple here. Even if he had perfected Qi refinement, there was still a huge gap between him and the foundation establishment stage. Yunjioga, on the other hand, was calm and let them size him up. Not long after, the disciples of the Wangue sect also came over on a broken ghost ship. The leading Jindan stage elder was wearing a black robe and looked gloomy. After getting off the boat, he nodded at Zhou Hua and Peach Blossom Fairy and then disappeared. Where did he go? Yunjioga could not help but send a voice transmission to Zishang. He went into the shadows, Zishang replied lazily. The Wangue sect cultivated ghost energy and hated sunlight the most. The other disciples also hid in the shadows. 4 of the 5 great sects had already come, leaving only the Black Fiends sect. After a while, there was a sudden commotion in the surroundings. Many disciples looked at the sky and exclaimed in surprise. Yunjioga also looked up and saw a long black shadow swimming over from the blue sky that seemed to have been washed by water. When it got closer, she realized that it was actually a black flood dragon that was more than 200 feet long that was cooked with evil energy. The scales on the flood dragon's body were vivid and lifelike. Its 2 lantern-like red eyes shone with a ferocious light. Its huge body covered the sun in the sky, casting a dark shadow that made everyone feel suffocated. The flood dragon slowly landed on the empty ground next to them, and many people came down one after another. Other than the elders and disciples of the Black Fiend sect, there were also many elite disciples from other small sects and small aristocratic families. Yunjioga did not see Yi Rui and Wanli Mingxian in the Black Fiend sect. She retracted her gaze in disappointment. She knew that they would not come, but she still had some hope in her heart. Now, it was completely shattered. At this moment, Zishang secretly sent a voice transmission to her. The woman in pink under the tree on the left is Yusha. Yunjioga looked in the direction that Zishang pointed and saw a pink-clothed girl with a spirit snake bun under a locust tree. She saw that the girl had white teeth and red lips. Her facial features were exquisite, and there was a black mole on her left cheek. Probably feeling Yunjioga's gaze, she suddenly turned and smiled at Yunjioga. The 2 little dimples on her face were even more charming, and her eyes were like autumn water. Slowly, they were filled with curiosity towards Yunjioga. Yunjioga silently moved her gaze away, determined to stay away from her. Zishang, on the other hand, narrowed his eyes and looked at Yusha up and down a few times, but he did not say anything to Yunjioga. At this point, the 5 devil sects had gathered in the Fiend Corpse Valley. The golden core cultivators of each sect gathered together to discuss the steps to open the Fiend Corp's secret realm. The yang energy is the strongest now, let's open it now. Cho Sen was very anxious. He did not want to wait another 15 minutes. Then let's open it. Peach Blossom Fairy immediately agreed. Zhou Hua had no objections, and the other elders did not say anything more. Cho Sen led the other 4 golden core cultivators to the cave entrance of the Fiend Corpse Valley. Then, he took out a black iron piece that was half a meter tall from his storage pouch and placed it on the ground. The other elders also took out the same iron piece and put it together. In the end, they pieced together the shape of a black fiend corpse. It was extremely similar to the token that Yunjioga had obtained. The 5 elders simultaneously injected spirit energy into the iron piece. The fiend corpse immediately exploded with a dazzling light. Then, it slowly stood up from the ground. Its hands pulled left and right in the air, making a tearing motion. Suddenly, a small black dot appeared in the air. Then, it quickly expanded into a door. The door was blurry, and no one could see what was inside. Disciples, hurry up and enter the valley. Zhou Hua shouted. The disciples of the 5 sects had already lined up. When they heard this, they immediately stepped onto their flying artifacts and flew neatly into the tunnel. The first to enter was Joyous Union Sect, followed by Een Corpse Sect. Yunjioga was the first to step on his evil blade and fly in. Then, Bailon and the others flew in one after another. After Si Yue entered, Peach Blossom Fairy prepared to close the cave entrance and interact with Cho's senator. However, she did not expect Cho Sen to suddenly transform into a black light and rush into the Fiend Corp's secret realm. Big Brother Cho? Peach Blossom Fairy almost flew in as well, but Zhou Hua stopped her. You didn't suppress your cultivation. Do you want to be torn apart by the space? But Brother Cho. Peach Blossom Fairy was so anxious that she was about to cry. Cho Sen never does things that he is not confident in. You don't have to worry about him. Although Zhou Hua said this, he felt very strange. There was nothing special in this Fiend Corp's secret realm other than the Fiend Pearl. It was indeed unbelievable that Cho Sen was willing to suppress his cultivation to enter. At this time, Yunjioga had just entered the Fiend Corp's secret realm. He was holding his evil blade and looking around, afraid that the fiend corpses would suddenly attack. Wolf Fang, Bailon and the others who followed him in were also of the same realm. When everyone was present, Yunjioga was about to say something when he saw a small figure fly in from the cave entrance. When it landed, it actually turned into Cho's senator. The disciples were all shocked. Bailon couldn't help but exclaim, Elder Cho Sen, why are you here? Chapter 398. Is that something you should be asking? Cho Sen looked at Bailon expressionlessly. This disciple deserves to die, please forgive her, Elder. Bailon immediately knelt and begged for mercy, cold sweat pouring down her back. No one else dared to make a sound, only Si Yue pleaded for Bailon, Elder, Senior Apprentice Sister Bai did not do it on purpose, please spare her this time. Cho Sen snorted coldly, then turned to look to the east, lost in thought. Si Yue hurriedly motioned for Bailon to get up. Bailon gave her a grateful look, then silently shrunk to the side. Although she was happy to have escaped, when she thought of Master's death order, she began to have a headache. How could she kill Yunjioga under Elder Cho Sen's eyes, then bring that 1,000-year zombie to Master? It seemed that she would have to rely on Senior Apprentice Brother Mo Jinyuan. Bailon could not help but look at Mo Jinyuan, but found that he was smiling, his eyes only focused on the Wolf Fang, not even looking at her. Damn, although Bailon knew that Senior Apprentice Brother Mo was gay, this was the first time she had seen him so infatuated with a man. What was so good about this Wolf Fang? Bailon was annoyed, but she could only comfort herself that Senior Apprentice Brother Mo was not infatuated with Yunjioga, otherwise things would be difficult. Yunjioga did not notice Bailon's complicated gaze. She was a little annoyed. She had planned to sneak away with Zi Shang after entering the Fiend Corp's secret realm, but she did not expect Cho Sen to come in, so it was impossible to leave. What's there to be annoyed about? Didn't you already guess that Cho Sen would come in? Zi Shang transmitted to Yunjioga. I was just guessing, who knew that he would really come in? Golden Core cultivators valued their lives, suppressing their cultivation to enter this damned place. What if they were accidentally killed by other sects? Cho Sen was too desperate. Since you're already here, just sneak away when you have the chance. Zi Shang comforted. Yunjioga calmed herself down and observed the surroundings, looking for a sneak route. She saw a gray wasteland in the distance, the clouds in the sky were a strange black and red, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of blood. This smell stinks. Yunjioga frowned. She didn't know why, but as soon as she smelled the pungent smell of blood, she felt irritated and her blood rushed to her head. She quickly swallowed a tranquil pill. We're going to be in trouble. Zi Shang raised his head and looked at the thick black clouds above him with a solemn expression. What kind of trouble? Yunjioga asked curiously. Remember to run faster later, Zi Shang replied cleverly. Yunjioga quickly understood what he meant. The black and red clouds in the sky suddenly rolled, and sticky black and red raindrops fell one after another. They carried an incomparably fishy smell and had a strong corrosive effect. Wolf Fang and the others began to emit protective barriers of various colors. A faint purple mist also appeared around Yunjioga's body, isolating him from the rain. Cho Sen released a monster monkey corpse that could resist the baleful aura. Elder, this rain is too heavy. Why don't we find a place to take shelter? Si Yue cautiously suggested. Their defensive artifacts had limited spiritual power, and they would be easily worn out after being exposed to the diabolical rain for a long time. Let's go. Cho Sen directed the monstrous monkey corpse to the east. Yunjioga and the others silently followed behind him. Bailan stared at Yunjioga's back and began to think if she could use this sudden black rain to deal with Yunjioga, but she quickly gave up on that idea. After walking for an hour, she still couldn't find a place to hide. Her protective barrier couldn't hold on much longer. She didn't think that the first one to break would be the middle stage foundation establishment Mo Jinyuan. Junior brother Wolf Fang, my protective barrier is broken, please take me in. Mo Jinyuan came to Wolf Fang's side, his charming eyes were like silk, and his beautiful face was filled with a flattering smile. His defensive artifact wasn't strong enough, so it had been destroyed. His fiery red robe was damaged, and there were several red spots on his white arms, making him look very pitiful. Wolf Fang coldly looked at Mo Jinyuan. He didn't believe that Mo Jinyuan, a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator, wouldn't be prepared for entering the Fiend Corp's secret realm for the second time. It was clear that he was just finding an excuse to harass him. Junior brother Wolf Fang, no matter what, we're still fellow disciples. Do you have the heart to watch me die? Mo Jinyuan looked like he was about to cry. For a man to act so pitiful, it was actually not ugly, and was actually quite seductive. If senior brother wants to find someone to help, you should go find senior sister Bailan. Wolf Fang finally spoke. They weren't from the same mountain, so they weren't familiar at all. Isn't it improper for men and women to touch each other? Mo Jinyuan said, feeling wronged. Wolf Fang was speechless. Who in the entire Corp sect didn't know that you liked men? Although his protective barrier could cover one more person, he didn't want Mo Jinyuan to take advantage of him. Junior brother Wolf Fang, if you're not willing, then forget it. Why push it to me? Although Bailan was unhappy that Mo Jinyuan was pestering Wolf Fang, she was even more unhappy that Wolf Fang was using her as a shield. Junior brother Wolf Fang, I'm just staying here for a while. When the fiend corpses appear, I'll leave. I'm not staying here for nothing. How about 100 baleful pearls as compensation? Mo Jinyuan pestered Wolf Fang, using all kinds of temptations. Wolf Fang was annoyed to no end. Thinking that earning 100 baleful pearls wasn't bad, he finally agreed and opened the protective barrier a bit. Mo Jingyuan immediately went in happily. Then he placed a hand on Wolf Fang's waist and stuck close to him, using the excuse of saving spiritual energy. Wolf Fang had a tall and straight figure. He was a bit taller than Mo Jingyuan and was also stronger. He was filled with a manly aura. But on Mo Jingyuan's side, he was filled with a domineering aura, as if this man belonged to him. Bai Lan's teeth itched seeing this. She wanted to use this move on Yunjioga, but seeing the Yin corpse next to her, she immediately gave up on that idea. Yunjioga was looking at the scene of a man chasing another man with interest. Seeing the veins popping out on Wolf Fang's forehead, she couldn't help feeling happy in her heart. According to what she knew, evil sects and demonic sects also had male and female Dao companions. Is it that funny? Zi Shang glanced at Yunjioga. I think senior brother Mo doesn't have time to bother me anymore. Yunjioga saw that Mo Jingyuan was quite interested in Wolf Fang. His eyes were glued to him, anyone who came close would be stared to death by him. Even if they come, I'm not afraid. Zi Shang really didn't place a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator in his eyes. It's good to save some trouble. Yunjioga quite admired Mo Jingyuan's tenacity. Wolf Fang was very independent, it wasn't easy to take him down. Zi Shang didn't care. He just looked into the distance and said, "Be careful, trouble is coming." Yunjioga immediately turned solemn. He looked into the distance and saw countless shadows walking over shakily in the hazy black rain, surrounding them. Chapter 399. When the shadows came closer, Yunjioga finally saw what they looked like. They looked like humans, but their bodies were gray and their eyes were blood red. Smelling the scent of humans, their speed became very fast and they instantly arrived in front of Yunjioga. They were low-level fiend corpses. Kill. Cho Sen did not say anything else and released 2 monster monkey Yin corpses to kill them. Jin Yanwei and Si Yuyue stood on either side of Cho Sen and Jin Chuan was not far from Si Yuyue. Bai Lan released her bone spikes. Yu Zian released her white bone abacus. Wolf Fang unceremoniously kicked Mo Jingyuan out of the barrier and then released his evil weapon bone spikes. They turned into several blood-red lights that shot at the fiend corpses. Mo Jingyuan did not get angry. His tattered red Daoist robes instantly recovered. Then, he formed a hand seal and a pitch-black bone dragon flew out from his storage pouch. Yunjioga looked at the pitch-black bone dragon and his heart skipped a beat. It looked like the Black Fiend sect's flying artifact. But the Black Fiend sect was made of fiend chi and Mo Jingyuan's was made of all kinds of spirit bones that were soaked in black medicine. He probably wanted to show off in front of Wolf Fang. The bone dragon flew like it was cutting grass, killing several rows of fiend corpses, much faster than Wolf Fang. He even accidentally stole Wolf Fang's target, making Wolf Fang's face turn even darker with anger. It was really interesting for a man to have a partner. Yunjioga smiled as he released 5 evil blades, killing a row of fiend corpses with a slight twist. This brat's attainments in Yin spirit runes are not bad. Zi Shang killed the fiend corpses while talking to Yunjioga. Senior apprentice brother Mo is also a Yin spirit master. No wonder Jin Yanwei did not say anything when he was causing trouble for Wolf Fang. He really was bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. It felt like Wolf Fang had found a good backer. Don't just kill, you have to take the fiend bead too. Zi Shang pointed at the fiend corpse's head. Yunjioga used the evil blades to dig and a pure white bead the size of a thumb appeared, releasing a gentle glow. Master, good stuff, good stuff. The little baby's voice suddenly sounded in Yunjioga's mind. What, you want to eat it? If the little baby could change his taste, Yunjioga would feel much more relaxed. It's not me who wants to eat it, it's the bamboo that wants to eat it. The little adorable baby was taking care of his beloved grass soul seed by the stream. The bamboos suddenly emitted a violent fluctuation, and the desire surged towards him, as if it was about to go crazy. All right then, give it a few to try. Yunjioga threw the baleful bead into the demonic tripod when no one was paying attention. The little baby eagerly piled up all the baleful beads around the bamboo and kept urging Yunjioga to kill more. This was exactly what Yunjioga was thinking. The spiritual energy contained in this baleful bead was comparable to a spirit stone. Killing it would be a profit. In the blink of an eye, Yunjioga and Zishang had killed more than 500 fiend corpses and thrown all the baleful pearls into the demonic tripod. Although the others did not kill as many as the two of them, they still killed 200 to 300 of them. However, as far as the eye could see, the fiendish corpses were still attacking them. Do you think Cho-sen is trying to lure the flying corpses here? Yunjioga asked Zishang secretly. They had just entered the mystic realm, and before they could figure out what was going on, they had already attracted flying corpses. It felt very dangerous. It's very possible. If it was him, he would have chosen to finish the battle quickly. If that's the case, then we should stay further away. Yunjioga really cherished his life. Cho-sen was suppressing his cultivation. Even if he brought many monster monkey-eaten corpses, they still wouldn't be a match for the flying corpses. In this chaotic battle, they would easily become cannon fodder, so it was better to run further away. Cho-sen didn't say a word from beginning to end. He just kept ordering the monster monkey-eaten corpses to kill, kill, kill. Those fiend corpses were like wheat, being cut down in batches. The sticky black and red rain continued to fall and everyone's protective barrier began to weaken. But seeing how serious Elder Cho-sen was, no one dared to make a sound. They could only continue to kill. Just like this, Yunjioga killed another 500. At this time, a black shadow suddenly jumped out of the group of fiend corpses and flew like lightning at Yunjioga. Yunjioga made a hand seal and the evil blade flew over to cut the black shadow's neck, but it made a clanging sound. Although the black shadow wasn't killed, it slowed down and gradually revealed its face. It was a fiend corpse with a faint black glow. Iron corpse. Mo Jinyuan recognized this fiend corpse and immediately had the bone dragon come over to help, tightly wrapping around the iron corpse. Yunjioga used this chance to merge with the evil blade and cut off the iron corpse's head with a single slash. Mo Jinyuan took out a bone spur to cut open the fiend corpse's head, taking out an infernal bead the size of a thumb. Senior apprentice brother Mo, why is this iron corpse's infernal bead no different from the other fiend corpses? Yunjioga was a bit disappointed. She thought that the iron corpse's infernal bead would be a bit stronger. This is not an iron corpse. Mo Jinyuan said with a serious expression. If it's not an iron corpse, then what is it? Although Yunjioga had never been to the fiend corpse secret realm, she had heard of the iron corpse's appearance. It was black like this. The iron corpse's infernal bead is black. This is just a normal infernal bead. Mo Jinyuan shook his head. Then he looked up at the sky and said, moreover, this infernal rain fell too early and for too long. The last time Mo Jinyuan entered the fiend corpse secret realm. After killing the normal fiend corpses, it began to rain. When the rain stopped, the iron corpse appeared. After killing the iron corpse, it began to rain again. When the rain stopped, the bronze corpses appeared. The cycle was very regular. But this time, it started with the infernal rain. The stench of the infernal rain was very unpleasant. It was nauseating and disgusting. And this ordinary fiend corpse that looked like an iron corpse. Its infernal bead was white, but its killing power was comparable to the iron corpse. If these ordinary fiend corpses were as strong as the iron corpse, then it would be really troublesome. Since senior apprentice brother already noticed something was wrong, why didn't you say so earlier? Bai Lan scolded hatefully. If senior apprentice brother Mo was more serious and didn't place all his attention on Wolf Fang, they would not have been so passive. How would I dare to speak without confirming the situation? Will you take responsibility if something happens? Mo Jinyuan raised his eyebrows and glared at Bailan. This team had Elder Cho's senator. He did not want to find trouble with them. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation was getting worse, he would not even want to speak up. There must be something wrong when something is out of the ordinary. Elder, shouldn't we take our time to think about it? Wolf Fang thought of the human-faced Peach King that appeared in the small secret realm. At that time, more than 1,000 disciples almost died there. That's right, Elder, we should be a bit more cautious. Si Yue was also a bit nervous. Cho Sen looked at the increasingly thick red and black clouds in the sky and the never-ending infernal rain. He also felt that something was wrong. Jingyuan, do you have any good suggestions? Cho Sen was not a person who acted arbitrarily. Reporting to Elder, this disciple remembers that there is a resting area on the east side. We can go there first. Mo Jingyuan honestly said. Alright, then we'll go east. Cho Sen immediately controlled the monster monkey Een corpse to go east. Chapter 400. Cho Sen's monster monkey Een corpses led the way. The further they went, the more fake iron corpses there were. Soon, there was a black mass of fake iron corpses. The fake iron corpses had high defense, speed, and killing power. They were very troublesome. If Cho Sen hadn't released the 6 monster monkey Een corpses to pave a bloody path, the disciples wouldn't have been able to move forward. Under Zi Shang's protection, Yun Jioga kept killing fiend corpses and collecting fiend beads to put in the demonic cauldron. Wow, Master, your bamboo grew, but why is it so strange? The little baby exclaimed. After the bamboo absorbed all the fiend beads, it broke out of the ground and grew a small red ball. It gave off a strange light. Yun Jioga took the chance to enter the demonic cauldron to take a look. He was curious about this strange thing and really wanted to plant it to see what it was. Master, take this chance to collect more fiend beads. I'll use them to plant a soul seed later, the little baby shouted excitedly. Master was usually too poor. It was rare to have such a good chance to get rich. He had to grasp it. Okay. Yun Jioga was also full of fighting spirit. Once she came out of the demonic cauldron, she found that the fiend corpses suddenly moved away from her. They looked like they'd seen a ghost. Your bamboo is very interesting. Zi Shang also found that something was wrong. He quickly released his monster energy to attract the fiend corpses. Otherwise, if they all ran away, Cho Sen and the others would immediately find out it was Yun Jioga's problem. You mean these fiend corpses are afraid of the bamboo? Yun Jioga didn't believe it. How could the fiend corpses know the bamboo was in the demonic cauldron? Inside the demonic cauldron, the little baby was shaking his head to guide the aura on the bamboo out. He didn't know he was bringing trouble to Yun Jioga. This is just a guess of mine. If I want to verify it, I need to get more fiend beads. Zi Shang knew the little baby better than Yun Jioga, but he didn't think he'd be so brash. Okay, I'll try. Yun Jioga raised his evil blade and was about to start killing. The fiend corpses all ran to the side, putting great pressure on Wolf Fang and Mo Jinyuan. You should dig fiend beads in the back. Zi Shang quickly stopped Yun Jioga and then led the fiend corpses back. All right. Yun Jioga looked at the fiendish corpses that littered the ground. Cho Sen's demon monkey had great destructive power, and the others were also busy protecting themselves behind him. No one had the time to dig for baleful pearls, it was really a waste. Although he would be scolded by them for picking up the leftovers, it shouldn't be a problem to dig it up and share it with them. Yun Jioga quickly made her decision. The evil weapon's red light swooshed across the zombie's head, and the baleful beads flew into her storage pouch. Bailan was extremely dissatisfied with Yun Jioga's actions. She wanted to protest, but when she saw Elder Cho Sen's frosty little face, she immediately swallowed her words. In the current situation, staying alive was more important. It wouldn't be too late to deal with Yunjioga later. Senior apprentice brother Mo, how long until we reach the safe zone? Si Yuyue had killed so many evil corpses that she wanted to vomit. Another 500 meters. Mo Jingyuan's bone dragon abruptly rose into the air, quickly relaying the news. Alright, let's work harder, everyone. Let's kill our way through in one go. Si Yuyue immediately pulled herself together. Wolf Fang and the rest also perked up and followed behind Cho Sen to speed up. An hour later, Yunjioga suddenly heard the sounds of fighting in front of them. Cho Sen also heard it and asked loudly, which sect's disciples are in front? We are from the Soul Devourer sect. Dao friend, please come and save us. An extremely pathetic voice was heard. Cho Sen, who had some friendship with the Soul Devourer sect's Zhou Hua, immediately led his disciples to kill them. The Soul Devourer sect's disciples were covered in a white protective soul weapon over their heads. They were holding magic weapons that looked like fire sticks as they killed the evil corpses. All of them were exhausted, and many of them were injured. When they saw Cho Sen leading reinforcements, they were first overjoyed, then shocked. Elder Cho Sen, why are you here? If you want to live, then cut the crap. Follow behind us and continue forward. Cho Sen coldly threw out a sentence, then continued to kill towards the east. The Soul Devourer sect's disciples tactfully shut up and followed behind Yunjioga and the rest, carving out a bloody path. The safe zone was actually a messy pile of rocks. Tall rocks were piled up haphazardly. Those rocks were also black with a hint of red, but it was already very impressive that they could withstand the corrosion of the baleful rain. When everyone saw the pile of rocks, their spirits rose. They gritted their teeth and charged in. They never thought that as soon as they stepped into the pile of rocks, they would see a large pink net falling from the sky, coming at them. Cho Sen's expression did not change as he made a gesture at the monster monkey-ean corpses. The 6 monster monkey-ean corpses jumped high into the air, sending the pink net flying. Elder Cho Sen. A surprised cry came from the pile of rocks. Following that, several girls wearing peach blossom red robes came out. They were the people from the Joyous Union sect. What do you mean by setting up a trap here? Bailan angrily said. Dao friend misunderstood, we didn't want to set up an ambush, we were worried that the evil corpses would charge in, so we set up a barrier. There were no offensive runes on the net. The Joyous Union sect disciple quickly explained. Bailan wanted to curse again, but she was stopped by Mo Jingyuan. If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute. They harmed us like this and you're blaming me? Bailan's eyes turned red with anger. Senior brother, don't blame this senior sister. She should have been affected by the baleful rain and her blood qi is surging, so she can't control her temper. Quite a few of us were affected, but it's fine as long as we eat the youth version. The leader of the Joyous Union sect said. This baleful rain really does affect a person's mood. Everyone has a clear heart pill, eat a few. Mo Jingyuan let go of Bailan and took out a bottle of clear heart pills. He ate 2 and then gave it to Wolf Fang. I have my own. Wolf Fang pushed away the pill Mo Jingyuan gave him and took out his own clear heart pill to eat. Mo Jingyuan was not angry, he silently put it away. Bailan did not care about ridiculing this couple, she just poured half a bottle of clear heart pills into her mouth, suppressing the anger in her chest. She was wondering why she was so easily angered this time. She thought it was because of the pressure, she did not think it was the influence of the baleful rain. Elder Cho Sen, fellow Taoists, the disciples of the other sects are all inside. Everyone, follow me. The Joyous Union sect disciple led the way and walked into a tall pile of rocks. Yunjioga followed the Joyous Union sect disciple into the safe zone and found that the disciples of the 5 great sects were all gathered here, all of them looking battered and exhausted. After Cho Sen asked, he found out that everyone had encountered the same situation after entering the Fiend Corp's secret realm. First, it was the baleful rain, then they were surrounded by normal fiend corpses. Following that, the killing power of the fiend corpses increased greatly, and the 5 great sects all suffered losses. Among them, Joyous Union sect was the worst off. They lost 2 males and 1 female, leaving only 5 females. Elder Cho Sun, before we came in, Elder Peach Blossom told us to be on good terms with your Een Corp sect. Please give us some pointers. The leader of the Joyous Union sect was an oval-faced beauty called Fong Ling Air. She was at the middle stage of foundation establishment. Those who entered the Fiend Corp's secret realm before, come out and carefully analyze the difference. Cho Sun ordered without any politeness. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.